College football Thursday night is on the Clemson campus in South Carolina, where tonight, in one of the toughest places to play in the nation, Death Valley, North Carolina State walks into its toughest test of a thus far perfect 2002 season. The foundation started 3 years ago with the hiring of a high-energy head coach who turned the offense to an Alabama son of a coach, and he's rewriting the school record book. The defensive calling card is a senior known as Thunder Dan. And this season, the missing ingredient, a star freshman back known as T.A., who's producing a bunch of TDs. It's 8 games, 8 wins, but the packed path to perfection tonight crosses with one dangerous offensive threat in the ACC. Phillip Rivers might have to match numbers with Clemson's Derek Hamilton as the Tigers try to pull a home upset. College football Thursday night presented by Circuit City, an ACC matchup from Death Valley. Undefeated NC State visits Clemson. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the start of the college football weekend. Only 7 regular season weekends left, and we have 8 unbeatens, including surprise, North Carolina State. Should North Carolina State be proud of itself? Absolutely. 111 years of football. This is only the second Wolfpack team to open 8-0. The other was in 1967. Now, people are saying, wait a minute, NC State has only beaten one 1A team with a winning record. That's true. But we're going to find out about North Carolina State because its next 5 games are against the other 5 teams in the ACC that have a winning record. They're 8-0 because, in large part, their head coach is putting together a good program. He's Chuck Amato, and he's standing by with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Chuck, despite the 8-0 start and lofty national rankings, there are still people in this country who don't believe the Wolfpack is for real. The LA Times said, ignore this team. The Chicago Tribune said the Wolfpack has the aroma of a fraud. How does all that doubt impact your football team, and will it have an effect on them here tonight?
We don't know how to read those newspapers. You know, if we're fortunate enough to win this game, I'll be the happiest 9-0 fraud team in the country. And there's an awful lot of frauds in Chicago and LA too. Walking the streets, they better put them in jail.
Oh, Coach, what about last week, the scare against Duke? What did that 2-point victory do for your football team?
We were just trying to celebrate Halloween early. We wanted to scare everybody. I mean, you know, really, this scare, the whole thing is to win. You know, look at all the teams in the top 10 and really in the 20. You got people like Florida State is 2 plays away from being #1 in the country. They kicked a field goal and Miami's out. And Oklahoma had a scare a couple weeks ago, and Notre Dame's had a bunch of them. All they do is win, and that's what the whole object is to win the game. And, you know, how good we are, they said we won't know until we played North Carolina. Well, we played them, and now they're still saying it. We'll find out. I mean, I don't know how good we are. We're getting better. We're getting better. But don't tell those kids they're not very good.
Hey, Chuck, thanks for your time. Good luck tonight.
You're welcome.
Mike?
All right, Doc, thank you. With me, of course, on Kirk Herbstreit. Chuck Amato's going to be down at the SO Club down the street with stand-up. He'll be here all weekend. He's here with an unquestioned leader at the quarterback position, Phillip Rivers.
You know, not only has he brought the attitude, but the glasses from Tallahassee, from Bobby Bowden. I think this is a football game that really allows North Carolina State, even though you almost feel in this stadium that they're the underdog because they're playing on the road, but the experience of having a quarterback like Phillip Rivers in his 3rd year as a starting quarterback, he comes in, and we talked to him last night. He said, man, the one team I look forward to playing every year is Clemson, especially when we play him in Death Valley. He loves that challenge, and Clemson's going to come after him. But, Coach, it's a little bit different this year with North Carolina State. Last couple of years, it was all Phillip Rivers. Now, with T.A. McClendon, it's a balanced attack.
There's no question about that. I think people ought to watch this ball game because personally, I think Clemson has an excellent shot at an upset, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, this is North Carolina State's first real road test in a hostile environment. This is not Navy. Now, the next second thing is Clemson can score against anybody, including North Carolina State. And keep your eye tonight on number 91, Brian McNeil, the defensive end from Clemson. He's going to be all over that Phillip Rivers. This kid's a game breaker and a terrific football player.
I think we all believe swing game for Clemson. They win tonight. Could be an 8-win bowl season. They lose, they're going to struggle to be 500. Great atmosphere and a perfect night for football here in Death Valley. Chris Fowler, see you in a couple of minutes for NC State Clemson, just starting to set the table for a pretty good college football weekend.
Mike, thanks. Look forward to it. Trev Alberts and Mark May alongside. Looking forward to the showcase for NC State and for Phillip Rivers. More on him in just a second. Guys, Wolfpack, one of 8 unbeaten, is thinking about only one thing: survive each week, stay in the hunt for that BCS, and ignore all that hype. Now, the Notre Dame naysayers believe this is the week the Irish might be exposed in Tallahassee, but Notre Dame says This is a chance to silence the skeptics and take a big step towards Tempe, a signature win it could be. The Noles say they're not spoilers. They still have plenty to play for. It's a real high-stakes Saturday in the Big Ten. The Buckeyes' BCS and conference hopes hinge on a visit from Penn State. Fellow unbeatens in the conference, Iowa and Michigan will match muscle. Georgia's Dogs down in the SEC. They're the only unbeaten team in that conference. They are badly wounded as they try to dodge the upset trap at Kentucky. And also on upset alert this Saturday, the heavyweights in the Big East. Miami has to visit hostile Morgantown and try to get out of there with a W. BCS standings were released, of course, this week. That's the backdrop for this weekend's games in Miami. Well, they're a distant number 2 to Oklahoma. The gap between 1 and 2 is about the same between 2 and 6. We do believe, barring major upsets down the line to their opponents, that Oklahoma and Miami do control their own destiny to play in that BCS championship game if they do win out. Now, why is Miami number 2 despite a solid number 1 in both polls? Well, their non-conference opponents have struggled a bit more than we thought. Florida at 5-3. You can see the Noles have a couple of losses. Tennessee, but they play at November 9th already with a couple of losses. Now, guys, the nightmare scenario, Miami number 1 in both polls, and yet not in Tempe. Possible? Likely? Impossible?
It's possible because of their schedule, the weakness of their schedule and their opponents, their schedule. But in my opinion, if Miami runs the table and they go undefeated, the BCS, as we know it now, would not exist next year as they are at this point. Because if Miami runs the table and they're not in the Fiesta Bowl, people are going to sit back and say, Larry Coker's never lost a game as head coach. He was National Coach of the Year. He's won a national championship. This team goes undefeated back-to-back 2 years in a row. They don't have a chance to defend their national championship. I don't think the fans would put up with it.
Yeah, that's the worst-case scenario. But I think we're, like Chris said, I mean, it's awfully early right now to say it's going to happen. The bottom line is this. If Oklahoma and Miami go undefeated, in my opinion, forget about it. They're going to play for the national championship. I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is that there could be 3 or 4 teams undefeated. That's my opinion.
Well, let's take a look at those other teams that still are undefeated, and they haven't played bad schedules either. Of course, Notre Dame with their big test, and we're going to see NC State tonight, and Ohio State, and Georgia. These are power conferences. What about these teams getting potentially shut out, or who's going to survive, do you think?
The only team I think that's going to survive is Georgia. In my opinion, there'll be 3 teams that are undefeated, Mark, at the end of the season. I think you'll have Oklahoma, Miami, and Georgia. They have one thing in common: coaching. Bottom line, in my opinion, Bobby Stoops, Larry Coker, Mark Richt. It's about coaching, and I'll take those 3 guys any day of the week. I don't care about the SEC being down. I don't care about the injuries. Georgia will find a way to get past Kentucky. That's a resilient team. I think those 3 teams will be undefeated.
Well, I disagreed about Georgia and Kentucky. I think Kentucky's going to win that game. But if you look at the schedule, I think this weekend, I think Notre Dame is going to struggle this week against Florida State. I think they lose that game. I still like North Carolina State. I've said that for the last 3 or 4 weeks. We're going to find out about North Carolina State tonight in this game, and I believe they win this game. I just have a feeling about this team, the way that they've come together on the field and off the field to play.
They've been addressing that fraud label that Chuck Amato just talked about. We saw they're 11th in the BCS standings. Computers don't like those 2 1AA opponents.
They haven't played anybody yet. I mean, they haven't played anybody yet. The bottom line is at the end of these next 5 games or so, you'll find out about this football team. The win percentage is .68. I mean, now they're going to play some good football teams. A great season so far for Coach Amato. I mean, they've had a nice, but come on. I mean, let's play the talent. Now we get to see if this NC State team is really for real, and I think they will be exposed. I think they'll have at least 1, probably 2 losses.
Well, I think they're a better team than you think, but I'll tell you what about this football team. They can't change the schedule. Once the season starts, the schedule's already made. It's been made years in advance. They can't do anything about that. They're going to play the teams that they're supposed to play. They've gone out each and every week and defeated those teams. And I think there's a great case at the end of the season if North Carolina State goes undefeated and you've got a Miami undefeated or an Oklahoma undefeated and everyone else has 1 or 2 losses, I think North Carolina State should go and play in the Fiesta Bowl.
Okay, over Miami or Oklahoma?
If one of those teams are undefeated and one of those teams has 1 loss.
Got to learn to listen.
Okay.
Clemson obviously would like to take care of all that talk tonight. It's going to be a big showcase for the quarterback, Phillip Rivers, the big, tall quarterback with the unusual-looking delivery but the great-looking statistics. His daughter was born July 6th. July 7th, he attended a football meeting. You get the idea. He's had a challenge juggling fatherhood and football stardom.
Say hi, ESPN. So big. A lot of people, I think, take on different things, different times in their life. You know, I got married when I was younger, and now I've had, had the baby now. This is little Hallie. She's about 3 months old. This is me when I was a baby. They say we look a little alike around the mouth. I think we're very mature as far as knowing how to, live life to a certain extent, and I think that it's been great. Oh, yeah. There you are now. That's you. Yeah, I got my priorities straight is what Terrence Holt, the main one, tells me. He knows I got to go home when I got to go home.
When he comes home, he loves just to have his own one-on-one time with her.
Who's that? Who's that? Film room open. I've tried to leave football there when I put in a lot of extra time as far as film work and studying, and I've tried to really balance it and do it all there. I try to, come home and enjoy spending time with them. Are you a big girl yet? You can't sit up, huh? That's a little game day outfit. Family number. That's my dad. My dad was 17 when he played, and all the way through, and that's kind of the number I got when I was a 10th grader in high school, and that was the first thing I asked before I came. Will I be able to wear 17? They didn't have a quarterback. The senior was graduating. I left school early in high school. I graduated in December. So I came to school in January, and that allowed me to, have a chance to fight for that job.
Rivers hit as he throws. Touchdown, Peterson! What a grab!
I've always hoped and dreamed of succeeding as far as in college football for myself and be on a good team, and I'm getting both of those right now.
Say, Wolfpack, go back!
Like you said, a great family, and it's really been a blessing. Everything's worked out great.
Now, Philip Rivers' stats against Clemson in the last couple of years look really good. Look at that, 7 touchdowns, only 1 pick, and the Wolfpack have scored plenty of points. Bottom line is they've given up a bunch of points, and Rivers is 0-2 lifetime against Clemson. A little extra motivation tonight as if he needed any.
Absolutely. Well, he can't play defense, but he can throw touchdown passes. And in my opinion, this is a center stage for Philip Rivers. If he performs well tonight, he will be one of the front runners in the Heisman Trophy race. And not only that, if you look at his numbers, Trev, compared to the rest of the undefeated quarterbacks, his numbers are better.
I don't disagree with you. I think consistency for me is a real important thing when I look at these guys. And the bottom line is when you look at Rivers, there's no duds right now. There are no duds. And even if his team loses, which I think is going to happen tonight, if he doesn't have a dud, he's still in the race.
You've made that point. Rivers skeptics make the same point the BCS computers make. The competition so far hadn't been great, but you guys pointed out it's going to be a lot better. There's also some football on ESPN2 tonight. The Rams on the edge of the top 25. The Cougars are just on the edge of oblivion. They got to pull it together. 10 o'clock Eastern time from Fort Collins. But coming up on ESPN, it's Clemson and NC State. There is your national leader in passing efficiency this week. He might need to score a bunch of points if that Wolfpack defense cannot contain Derek Hamilton and the Tigers. Enjoy the first half. We'll see you at halftime.
ESPN College Football Thursday night, presented by Circuit City. We know how you feel. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. And in part by Mass Mutual Financial Group. You can't predict, you can prepare.
Sorry, I got that receipt in here.
We go on college football Thursday night, presented by Circuit City. From Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina, number 9 undefeated North Carolina State, and a team that always finds a way when the Wolfpack are ranked, the Clemson Tigers.
Get louder with it. Yo.
This pregame as North Carolina State a la Florida State. Helmets raised, one line of Wolfpack make their march towards the goal line. We had rain in the forecast the last couple of days. The chance of rain has diminished as we've gotten closer to kickoff. Our temperature will be in the 50s throughout the night, just a light wind. Chuck Amato is North Carolina State's exciting head coach. He's an alum. He was part of that 67 team, the only other NC State team to open 8-0, trying to get his first win against Clemson and Tommy Bowden. They were on the same Florida State staff for a year. Tommy Bowden, his 4th year at Clemson, trying to find a way to knock off the number 9 team in the country. Georgia Tech was in that spot last year. A fabulous crowd on this Thursday night. Lamont Reed has done some styling in 2002. 2 kick returns for touchdowns, part of 4 scores for this special teams unit. 8 teams start this weekend undefeated. Late Saturday night, Chris Lee and Kirk are sitting on the set in Tallahassee. We're breaking it down. Will that number still be 8? Aaron Hunt kicks it away, and here we go from Death Valley. It is taken by Reed. Lavon Reed finds an opening and breaks free. The kicker chasing him and will get an angle to push him out of bounds. But a great kickoff return for the Wolfpack. 52 yards.
Well, if it's a good way to take the crowd out of the game, old Chuckamato found a way with Reed. The key thing here is watch this block right there. He almost gets a kicker, but the kicker makes a nice play, Kirk, because he just stays up.
Oh, the great job of setting up the wall here at the beginning. Golden goes untouched. The man leading him through is untouched. He's looking for somebody to pick up. If he gets the kicker, Reed's gone.
If he would have gotten to him earlier,
yeah.
That's right. So fabulous field position for Phillip Rivers at NC State at the Clemson 42. First down, quick toss to Jericho Cotchery. Just a couple of yards in front of true freshman Justin Miller. Rivers, the quarterback, as you saw in the pregame, married, father of a 3-month-old. His 33rd start, he has 23 wins, more than any other junior in the nation. Sent you through the people who will touch the ball tonight. T.A. McClendon, true freshman, 12 touchdowns. Bunch of receivers, all similar in style, all can be deep threats, and Sean Burton's like having another offensive lineman. He is strong and physical and nasty. NC State changes personnel after breaking the huddle. 2nd and 8. And a Rivers throw, quick hit to Brian Peterson, who's tackled at the 35. We have 3rd and 3 coming up. NC State's offensive line, the leaders are the guys on the ends, the tackles. The 2 guards removed from defense have really given a nasty attitude to this line. Jed Paulson's a true sophomore. Clemson's defensive line, they'll give him a challenge up front.
It's exciting to watch this match. It's going to be exciting to watch the matchup because North Carolina State fields are more physical. Brian McNeil, number 91. Lee talked about him earlier. Tremendous speed from the edge. He's going to try to put a lot of pressure tonight on Phillip Rivers.
No backs for 3rd and 3. Rivers toss, wide open and complete to Sterling Hicks. A first down across the 30-yard line. Or right at the 30, they'll mark it. The sophomore from Florida caught it against what essentially is the back 7, a 2-5 with Leak and Thomas, the top 2 tacklers on this team. And Lee, maybe the key tonight, the 2 cornerbacks for Clemson.
Number 2, Brian Mance. He's leads the Tigers with 4 picks. But number 9, Justin Miller, first-year freshman, was excellent against Wake Forest last week. He had 10 tackles and 1 interception in his first college start.
This is statistically the best defense in the ACC, allowing 316 yards per game. This could be a pass from Peterson. Back to Rivers. That's a live ball. It's a backwards pass. McClendon scoops it up, turns forward, and makes it a loss of just 4 or 5 yards. Once Rivers threw the ball, it's not as though he's an eligible receiver. Even though he can catch the pass, the defensive player was fully in his rights to knock him down.
And number 91, we talked about him earlier, number 91 gets into the space. Watch, keep your eye on number 91 as he comes from the top, Kirk, and makes the good play.
One thing about North Carolina State, people know that their offense is more than Phillip Rivers. They love the gadget plays. And Clemson, well schooled there by John Lovett, the defense coordinator. They were ready there to take that out.
Remember, that was a backwards pass, so essentially it was like a run play. 2nd and long. A Rivers quick strike to McClendon with a lot of room. T.A. McClendon first down at the 15-yard line. 12 rushing touchdowns this year, but averaging 9 per catch. That one was 20 yards.
You know, it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but here's the difference in North Carolina State. They've had Ray Robinson, who is a quick back, very versatile. T.A. McClendon is a true freshman, and what he brings to them is vision and power. As soon as he made that catch, you knew he had a shot to get the first down, and he lowered his shoulder.
Did you see that quarterback throw the ball? Sidearm.
Yeah.
It was a sidearm shot, looked like Brett Favre.
He is as unorthodox as it gets. See, opening possession, they have been rock solid. Last 7 games. Flag comes in the holding spot as McClendon picks up 3. Tackled by the free safety, Eric Meekins. Ron Cherry is the official assigned by the ACC tonight. Umpire Keith Roden threw the flag, and we'll check out what it is. Instead of the hold, the illegal block will push them back from the spot of the foul.
That block is when an offensive lineman sets up the defensive player and somebody cuts him down. That's illegal. The reason why that play is in there is to keep people from getting hurt in the defensive line.
Yeah. Looking at the strategy of North Carolina State here in the first 6 or 7 plays, we talked with Marty Galbraith and Mike Canales, the quarterback coach. You know, they said, we're going to give them a ton of different looks. Empty set, 4 or 5 receivers, 2 and 3 tight ends. Look, now they have trips. Now they're going to shift back now. They have 3 different receivers, and it's just to try to mess with Clemson and see how they're going to react.
Cotchery, Peterson, and Hicks are the receivers. Peterson in motion. Inside handoff to McClendon, who brings it back to the right. Good stick by Brian Mance as McClendon's brought down after a gain of 6. The senior Mance made the tackle.
As we look at this one, you'll see Jed Paulson, number 53. He will set the man up for Shane Riggs right there to come down on him. Now, you keep your eye on him right there. Watch him come down. See that? Oh, excuse me, I made the wrong man. It was Culver. Chris Culver, the left tackle that came down and chopped him. The reason why that's not in there anymore is because we had too many injuries with knees with chop blocking in the inside of the defensive line.
Needing to get to the 6 for a first down. They bring Burton, the tight end, back in the fullback spot and run McClendon on second down, who finds some open space. McClendon taken down at the 14. Pickup of 8. Khalid Vaughn made the tackle, but you see the ability of T.A. McClendon, a true freshman who set all kinds of prep records and has fit right in his 4 games, now 5 as a starter.
You know who his new best friend is this year? It's Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, it's like when John Elway had Terrell Davis and he finally could do some different things with the offense. They now have a balanced attack, and it's not just Phillip Rivers throwing the football. Even when they had Ray Robinson, they threw it to him all the time. Now, they legitimately can run the football.
2 tight ends, 3 receivers, empty backfield. Clemson brings some heat. Rivers steps up in the pocket, throws to the end zone, incomplete. He wanted Cotchery, but Altroy Bodrick was there, the Rover, in coverage. Field goal time. It will be a 32-yard attempt. Well, good job by Clemson. North Carolina State got it in great field position. They'll have to try 3, and it will be Adam Kiker to try the extra point. See his career numbers. Austin Herbert did a lot of the place kicking earlier in the year as Kiker was bothered by a bad back. From 32. Off the upright, and Clemson holds. Start for Clemson's defense. No points on the board.
Couldn't tell really if the hold was good, but it looked like he hit the ball pretty well. It's just see how the hold is, Lee. I know that's your
Chris Young. That's my favorite. That was
your favorite.
Nothing wrong with it. What he did is he opened up his hips too much. As Curtis Strange would tell Mike, he opened up his hips too much and he ducked hooked it.
That's right.
Right? Missed it. Same thing in golf.
Willie Simmons and Clemson, they've got a bag of tricks too. And here comes Derek Hamilton, but NC State right aware of it early. No gain on the play. Alan Holloway in on the tackle. You mentioned Willie Simmons. The fans are on the Clemson quarterback before last week, but he was turnover free against Wake Forest, the first-year starter who played a bunch when Woody Dantzler was here. Rambert is healthy, 4 receivers. Hamilton's the playmaker. Per touch, best in the ACC. This is a formation nightmare for defensive coordinators on both sides. Simmons takes off and had nowhere to go. Thomas, the linebacker, was staying there. They were burned by Woody Dantzler runs last year. You know they're looking for it. Clemson offensive line, the question to this group, Bird is the experienced one, the left tackle. He's the best of the bunch. NC State's defense leads the country with 34 sacks.
North Carolina's defensive end, Sean Price, with 5 sacks this year. #1 pass rusher. He's an athlete.
This is 3rd and 10 from the 20. Incomplete. A little bit hot for Kevin Youngblood, and this is very similar to the way Clemson looked throughout the first half against Wake Forest. They scored on the first and last drive, but in the middle, a bunch of 3 and outs this past Saturday here in Clemson. They will punt the ball away, and it will be Win Kopp. When last we saw Mr. Kopp, he dropped the punt snap against Florida State that led to an early Seminole touchdown. Jericho Cotchery and 10 per punt return awaits. Clemson is a horrible net punting team. Look out! Almost got to Kopp. Somehow he got rid of it. Cotchery from the 38. Penned in and will be brought down after a return of 7. First covered by Jamal Fudge, backup DB. 35 the net there. Scoreless in Death Valley. Good to be in the ACC on this Thursday for the second straight college football Thursday night. Last week we saw an impressive Maryland team knock off Georgia Tech. Tonight seeing if NC State can remain perfect. Phillip Rivers, a first down throw. Looked long, it was covered, waving for his receiver to get open, and it's incomplete. Good coverage by, again, a Clemson pass defense that has been very good, 12th in the nation, allowing only 164 yards a game.
They're getting some pressure on Rivers here. You know, Phillip Rivers, people have seen him for the last few years. He is very accurate, and a couple times early in this game, we've seen him throw some questionable balls, and it tells you that Clemson's not only putting pressure on him, but the secondary is making some good plays and covering these North Carolina State receivers.
But I think he's a little bit more mobile than I thought. Yeah. He moves around real nice back there.
Josh Brown is the back on this series. McClendon came off to the sideline at the end of the last series. Rivers steps up, directing traffic underneath Peterson. He's spilled at the 45. As you see, he is right at the line. It looks like he has a first down. Brandon Jamison made the tackle.
You're going to see this all game. We've been seeing it for 3 years. People talk about how unorthodox Phillip Rivers is, and it's not the prettiest way, but watch him just flick it. Watch how he's looking downfield, and like a little jump ball, little jump and a little flick. And, you know, as unorthodox and as ugly as that release is at times, that he gets rid of the ball very, very quick.
Peterson has now caught passes in 34 consecutive games. Devontae Edwards, one of the 3 receivers. With the lead from Burton, the tight end, Josh Brown is led on to the Tiger Paw at midfield by Rodney Feaster, senior out of Chester, South Carolina. Clemson 42-19 all-time in the all-orange uniforms that they wear here in Death Valley tonight against North Carolina State. This series has been a high-scoring series over the last 4 years, averaging 73 points. State looking for its best start ever. When Clemson gets its hands on the ball, or in special teams, beware of number 21, Derek Hamilton. For the 4th time, second and more than 10 tonight. Rivers with time, lofts one, that is incomplete, out of bounds. Sterling Hicks was laying on the sideline. Thus far, Clemson's back 7 is doing a pretty good job.
And you know what? Phillip Rivers, Kirk, has thrown for 680 yards in the last 2 times he's played Clemson. And I can see why. He steps in that pocket as well as anybody I've seen, haven't you?
Yeah, he's stepping up. You know what? Just watching the secondary and the way they're playing, they're taking away things that are deep to the outside. The middle of the field with the seam route is wide open for North Carolina State. We'll see if the coaches from the Wolfpack see the same thing.
North Carolina State has taken timeout. One of the best teams picking up 3rd downs has 3rd and 10 when you come back.
ESPN College Football Thursday night, presented by Circuit City. Brought to you by the all-new 200 horsepower Acura RSX Type S.
As a sage once said, without a doubt, one of the greatest entrances in all of sport. Rubbing the rock, Howard's Rock, as the Clemson Tigers come down the hill and take the field here in Death Valley. After the North Carolina State timeout, this is 3rd and 10 for Phillip Rivers and the Pack. This entire series, Josh Brown has been the tailback. Rivers hit as he threw. Incomplete. They are putting some pressure on Rivers, and that time wouldn't let him step up. Khalid Vaughn helped rush the pass.
Malik Vaughn, number 56, is 6'4", 260, and you watch him as he comes from the left side of your picture. He will beat the right tackle, and the reason I like this play, Kirk, is they finally got the idea that they start to the outside, and they better get inside, because that guy is moving really good, Rivers, up
Stepping
front.
up in the pocket, and he didn't have anywhere to go because Washington was in there as well.
Austin Herbert to kick. Try to keep it away from Derek Hamilton. Don't want him to get it with a head of steam. He caught one inside the 10 and got pulled down, or pulled out, really, at the 8-yard line. So just a couple of yards on the return after the kick of 39. College football doubleheader on the networks tonight. Switch over to ESPN2 at 10 Eastern, and you can watch Bradley Van Pelt and Colorado State, team at the top of the Mountain West with Air Force, taking on the Cougars of BYU. That comes your way from Fort Collins, the showplace of the West. That's what they call Hughes Stadium. 8 Mountain Time on ESPN. I saw the Weather Channel today. Not that I wasn't watching ESPN, but I bumped into the Weather Channel on the way. And snow flurries tonight, Fort Collins.
That's always nice.
We'll have to call off the rodeo.
First and 10 for Willie Simmons and the Tigers. 3 and out on their opening drive. Good, hard first down run from Bernard Rambert, the senior who missed 3 games earlier this season. As I mentioned at the top, he is as healthy as he has been all season. That's a big difference for Clemson. I want to show you the back 7 people North Carolina State will be defending Simmons with tonight. D'Antonio Burnett, the senior, is their leading tackler. Those 2 outside guys are Florida guys, part of the speed Chuck Amato's brought in. Here's the secondary.
And NC State will put in sometimes 5, even 6 defensive backs, but the leader is Terrence Holt, number 9. He'll be back there guiding this Wolfpack secondary.
And he's still there. Year 10 of eligibility. Derek Hamilton tries to make a man miss, but cannot. Good open field tackle brings him down. Bring up 3rd down. Nice play by Victor Stevens, the corner.
Woody Dantzler hurt this North Carolina State defense last year, and they don't have him anymore, so they're coming up with a few trick plays. Already we've seen 2 reverses to Derek Hamilton, who is really their go-to guy when it comes to being creative, trying to find ways to get him the ball.
NC State is wise to any touch Hamilton gets. 2nd and 9. Simmons has time. Down the middle for McKelvey. Incomplete. That's Stevens again. That's 2 plays in a row for Victor Stevens. He broke up what looked like a 30-yard completion.
You know, he came over to help out because McKelvey had his man beat. If Stevens didn't come over there to assist, that's a big completion for Willie Simmons and the Tigers.
You know, one thing college football players love is playing basketball. And they've got a basketball team for wide receivers on Clemson. 6'4", 6'4", 6'5", 6'2". They are tall receivers. 3rd and 9. Simmons trying to find some room. Throwing on the run to McKelvey. First down across midfield. Give him 31.
This is a perfect example of a scrambling quarterback breaking down a defense. Number 7, Willie Simmons, moves to his right. Watch him as he keeps his eye on McKelvey. McKelvey does a nice thing of coming across and keeping his eye. Kirk, the reason I like that play is McKelvey never stopped running and found the open spot.
Just sat right in there, kept coming over with Simmons, sat in the open area there.
First snap in state territory. There's 3 down linemen. The linebackers try to fill in and get Rambert after he picks up just a couple of yards on the play. Tell me about this NC State defense of Chuck Amato, guys, because it's his defense that can give you a lot of different looks.
Well, in studying film, I know that the North Carolina State coaches felt that looking at Clemson the last 2 weeks, one of the things that hurt him was going up against a 3-man front. So they're going to give you a 3-man front. They're going to give you a 4-man front. They're going to show a lot of different looks, try to confuse the offensive line, and take away your running game. And then they're going to put pressure on the quarterback with the blitz.
Remember, Chuck Amato was a defensive specialist for Florida State for 18 years.
Hamilton on the reverse. Once again, Victor Stevens. 3 plays on this drive made by number 8.
On that play, Stevens almost played a spy on Hamilton. As soon as he went into motion, he was waiting for him. It was like he was coming with him. They could have faked to Stevens, or they could have faked to Hamilton, and Stevens was going to stay with him all the way around. It's like a race to get to the other side, and of course Stevens is there waiting on him. That reverse to Hamilton's not going to work tonight.
They got that figured out. 3 carries, no yards for Hamilton. 3rd and 10. Let's see how much pressure. 5 men rush Simmons. Hit as he threw. It was high and late and almost intercepted. Good pressure from Drew Wimsatt. State forces a Clemson punt.
Before they go to this, but I want to tell you why that Hamilton's reverses are not working. He's had 15 of them this year. They average almost 12 yards per run. That's why North Carolina State has done a nice job of studying formations and knows where Hamilton is and watch the opposite side for reverses.
Terrence Holt, 12 block kicks in his career, an ACC record. 8 field goals, 4 punts. He's taken dead aim on Wincop. Good pressure last time, and they got this one. It's picked up, and it is Holt, and it is a North Carolina State touchdown. The block from Manny Lawson.
Well, let me give you a stat that's very exciting. Since Chuck Amato has been there, since 1998, they have blocked 37 kicks. This is number 38. Holt makes a great play. The reason why they're so good at this is Chuck brought this theory from Florida State, Kirk, that they really work hard on blocking the
fake on the extra point lead. They're going for 2. They're going to option it. The holder, Young, gets in there and give him 2 to make it 8-0. So Chris Young, the holder, took the snap, and they just ran option with the kicker, and Young kept it and pounds it in. Special teams has been part of the Wolfpack season. It produces the first 8 points this Thursday night. Chuck Amato has said his special teams this year have been amazing. And they produced the first 8 points of this game for the undefeated Wolfpack. Terrence Holt, who is the all-time punt blocker, kick blocker in ACC history, that time the beneficiary of the block by freshman Manny Lawson. And a nice wrinkle for Chris Young on the option 2. The holder taking in the 2 as State takes the 8-0 advantage. The kickoff from Kiker goes out of bounds. Hamilton had to make a decision. It was the right one. And Clemson will get the ball at the 35-yard line.
Going back to the block punt, Manny Lawson, who they think is one of the more athletic young players on this team, is going to come right through this gap. And Yusuf Kelly needed to step down as the up back and make the block, and he doesn't make the block. You can see he realizes the mistake, but it's too late. There he lets him go. And I want you to watch where Lawson dives to make the block here. A lot of times you'll see guys misjudge it. He blocked that perfectly, and at that point it's a jailbreak. Everybody's fighting for the ball, and Holt came up with it.
That was not an assignment mistake. That was a mistake of execution by Yusuf Kelly by putting his shoulder and elbow instead of putting his face into the protector. The secret of this is getting your face and stopping it. We'll show it to you in a second.
Clemson trying to respond, 1st and 10 from the 35. Rambert inside. They got 10 on 1st down last drive, and they get 10 here to get to the 45-yard line. 1st down.
Yusuf Kelly, number 5, will put his elbow right there. He's supposed to step across and put his face in there. It was not an assignment mistake. It was not poor execution by the coaches. It was poor execution by Kelly not blocking properly. That's what caused that punt block.
Clemson brings in a couple of tight ends. There's Lawson, a freshman's at linebacker for now, but he will be a rush end down the line. Chad Jasmine, a fullback, comes in the game. Toss, little power football. Rambert with carries of 10, and that time 8 yards. Tackled by Rod Johnson, the senior backup free safety.
Well, the first series they came out with a no-huddle, 4 or 5 receivers in the game, throwing the ball around. They look hurried this time. The first couple plays, they line up in the I formation and try to pound North Carolina State. The reason is North Carolina State showing a 3-man front with 5 defensive backs in the game. and that's something they have not shown. Typically, they're in a four-man front.
Second and a couple. They'll run Rambert inside. He had nowhere to go. Shaking his head no is Jarrett Hall, the senior nose tackle from Leland, North Carolina. Dropped Rambert for the loss of a yard.
It's 3rd and 3.
Clemson is 4-3. They beat Wake Forest by 8 last week. Although Wake Forest outgained Clemson by some 200 yards. It was the reverse of the prior 2 weeks when the Tigers lost at Florida State and at Virginia, despite huge numbers outgaining both the Seminoles and Cavaliers in a losing effort. Too tight, out of the eye. 3rd and 3, run Rambert, right side. He kept the pile going, and let's see where the spot is. He'll be just shy of the 45. Actually, it's not there. It's back a couple of yards. Freddie Autry-Lindsay made the play. And it will be 4th down. 4th and a couple of yards. And the coaches who paid to get in tonight want Tommy Bowden to go. The coach who gets paid to be in here is going to punt it away.
I think Tommy Bowden would have gone for it if it was 4th down and 1 or less, but 4th and 2 is very difficult to make against a good football team, or basically any football team on this side.
Yusuf Kelly is not the personal protector this time. Bernard Rambert, number 20, is in the spot where Kelly was, as Kopp gets this one away. Out of the end zone. They'll have it at the 20, and that's what I talk about with the bad net punting for Clemson. That's just a 27-yard net from where it was snapped to where Chuck Amato's offense is going to take over. Well, both of these guys have the Bobby Bowden influence. Amato's years at Florida State, and here's another part of it on the option with the swinging gate, Lee. They dusted this one out of the archives.
You know, and it's Chris Young's is quite an athlete. As he comes down the line of scrimmage, his responsibility, Kirk, is the option off their outside guy. They let him keep it. Boop.
Yep, and they just caught Clemson off guard. Yeah. That's what that play is all about. If you find that the defense isn't ready, I think the snapper and the holder have the option to go with it.
Rivers almost had his knee. He did. That's a good call by the referee. Rivers' knee came down before he was able to hand it to T.A. McClendon. That's a loss of 4 yards on the play. On Cherry right on the spot.
He got stepped on by the center, just coming back in his stance.
It's a great call.
Great call.
Real speed. That's tough. Tiger fans who were not involved in the game in the first half against Wake Forest, they've come to play on Thursday night. That guy had stage fright. Inside handoff, McClendon. Big opening. T.A. McClendon out to the 40-yard line. First down. 24 on the count.
T.A. McClendon is a freshman, and 50% of his yards this year, Kirk and Mike, have been done after contact. Right here, he gets hit, boom, and there's another 15 yards after contact.
Yeah, but the hole by the North Carolina State offensive line, these guys have an attitude about them, and they love to get it out and drive block. That's something that they have not been able to do in the past. It was more of a finesse offense.
From the 40, this is Josh Brown. McClendon back out. And he gets about 4 yards. McClendon, as a flag came down in here as well. McClendon was hobbling off the field before, but let's check in with Jerry Punch, who can tell us about T.A.
Well, Mike, he's a freshman. He's a true freshman. A lot of emotion in this field, and we're told that just like at the beginning of the North Carolina game, he became sick on his stomach. That's why he missed the previous offensive possession. He was over here on the NC State sidelines, very nauseated, and now he trots back into the huddle. Early against North Carolina, he actually threw up in the end zone after scoring a touchdown. He's been very close to that here on the NC State sidelines, but thus far, he's been able to control the nausea.
Also, Jerry, playing this flag, by the way, folks, is on Clemson, going to move State down to the 40. So the Tigers are flagged. And NC State will move it into Tiger field position. Illegal hands to the face, the call on Clemson. Final half-minute first quarter. McClendon back in there. Took a peek over to the right. saw Marcus Fountain waiting for him. So he just stuck it in there for a couple of yards, and that should spin us down to the end of quarter number 1. McClendon's carried it for 37 yards. NC State's run a few more plays, has a few more yards. The difference, special teams. A block punt leading to the only touchdown of the opening quarter. After 1, 8-0 NC State. Quarter number 2. You know, I've always wanted to go to a football game as one of the 7 dwarfs. Really something I missed out during my days in school. State 8, Tigers nothing. 2nd and 8 as the quarter gets going for Philip Rivers. Puts it in the belly of McClendon. He spins away from a tackle and is caught from behind as he picks up just a yard. Nick Eason, whose motor and his mouth are always going, made the tackle. He's a very enjoyable kid to be around. We sat and visited with Nick yesterday, who does a lot of great community work, visits schools, loves to talk to kids. Nick was nonstop, 10-15 minutes.
He was great because he acted like we were cramping his style, then he wouldn't leave.
3rd and 7, big stop here for Clemson if they can get it. Rivers throw on the move. Peterson cut down in the open field by a true freshman, Justin Miller. 6 yards, and as you saw from the line, just shy of a first down. What will Chuck Amato do here? It would be a 49-yard field goal.
Oh, no, he's got to go for it.
Yeah, Phillips is letting him know.
Especially with McClendon and that offensive line. If Rivers doesn't like the quarterback's feet because of an injury or something, boy, you definitely go with McClendon and you get him over the offensive line.
They're going to bring in 3 tight ends here. They've been bragging about this new offensive line and the attitude and how physical they are. Hand it off to 44 and get your first down.
Watch the play clock. Listen to the crowd. Watch McClendon score. Touchdown NC State. 31 yards.
One of the worst things that can happen to you when you're trying to stop somebody with 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 is to have everybody inside, and all of a sudden he breaks it. You got no secondary containment, no secondary pursuit, Kirk. That was a beautiful blocked offensive play. But the key was no secondary.
Yeah, they put everybody, like you said, at the line of scrimmage. And the tight end, Burton, had an incredible block. It was able to spring McClendon loose.
Each time Kiker adds the extra point. And the Wolfpack faithful down at that end have reason to celebrate. T.A. McClendon, touchdown 13 on the season. Fraud or for real? Thus far, the first 17 minutes, they look like the real deal. Solid drive by Philip Rivers in the North Carolina State offense to take a 15-0 lead. 7 plays and 80 yards. A lot of it McClendon, as T.A. scored TD number 13, setting the all-time NC State freshman record. Here's number 44, true freshman at 5'11", 214 pounds. Hamilton, no chance to return this one. A little breeze at the back and a very good kickoff from Kiker of NC State. So a long field for Clemson.
I said they've been bragging about having this big physical offensive line. Watch Chris Colmer's block, and the fullback, who's a tight end, Burton, watch him lead the way from McClendon. You talk about, this is textbook on short yardage, getting low, and number 9, Justin Miller, the young cornerback. You know, he's a great cover man, but I don't know about how physical he is in making plays.
What happened is he didn't try to hit, wrap up the guy. He just kind of like avoided him. That's a nice way to say it.
Gotta get something going here, and a drop pass by Kevin Youngblood not going to help the situation for Clemson. T.A. McClendon has touched the ball 9 times and has 90 yards, more than the Clemson Tigers do as a team here in the first 17 minutes of this one.
It's a good thing that Clemson and Tommy Bowden has the type of offense that can come from behind quickly or driving and everything else. This is not a type of team that's running the football that can't come from behind with 15. A natural way for them is to throw it.
Yusuf Kelly is now the lone setback. Give it to Kelly as they try the Hamilton reverse motion. It gets them out to the 24-yard line. You'll have 3rd and 6 ahead for a Clemson team that scored 28 points per game this year. Brad Scott is their offensive coordinator, former South Carolina head coach. And Brad was on the staff at Florida State for about a decade when Chuck Amato was there on the defensive staff. So there's a little chess match between old friends going on here tonight as well. First down awaits at the yellow line, the 30-yard line. And Clemson's in desperate need of one. Simmons couldn't handle the snap. That's a free ball, and it's a Terrence Holt recovery of the fumble. One thing that Tommy Bowden said to Willie Simmons is you must protect the ball better. He was very close to putting in Charlie Whitehurst because of fumble problems, and it might happen here.
What happened that time, Mike, was the fact that Willie Sims was calling an automatic and changing the play and changing the blocking, and the center snapped the ball. He wasn't ready for the ball. He's still looking around, puts his head, but he's not ready. Then looks down the field, Kirk. That happens a lot when you're doing automatics from the shotgun.
I disagree with you, Coach. I think I know what you're saying. No. I just think he was looking and ready for the ball. He just lost focus on the football. He didn't make the catch.
Looks for State to take a strike here, try to go up by 22. McClendon left side. That time Miller makes the tackle as he picks up 4 to the 11-yard line.
He was doing a lot of barking, a lot of cadence, checking at the line of scrimmage. And then right at the last second, he looks down, he kicks his leg to indicate the snap. He's ready, just missed the ball. You got to catch that ball.
I was wrong there. I thought maybe he was looking around. Maybe I was trying to protect him a little bit.
It's all right.
I guess all right. That's okay.
You're a good guy, you know that?
I was trying to be a good guy.
Mid-season, nerves get frayed. Chances stay supportive.
Chances are, that's the one thing Tommy Bowden doesn't like. I bet Charlie Whitehurst will come into the game next time Clemson has the ball.
2nd and 6. Andy Bertrand, another receiver's in the game. Rivers, that's time. So dangerous when he has time. Looking for someone to break free. Just a pump fake to get the first down and knocked out of bounds just shy of the goal line. Philip Rivers is 6'5", 236, and is a friend of the offensive lineman. And one of the old linemen was right there to give him an attaboy. It was Chris Colmer, the junior out of Long Island.
Well, you touched on, seeing him in person this year. He looks a little bit quicker than what we saw last year. But I just love the moxie of the guy. He's looking around. Everybody's covered. He knows he's going to keep it. Look at him stay in bounds. He almost got into the end zone.
Well, Rivers has taken it over from short yardage a bunch of times this year. Part of that added mobility. Here he is on the option. Trying to force that frame forward just shy of the goal line. And it will be 2nd and goal.
And one of the things you can't measure about Philip Rivers is his leadership. And, you always hear people talk about leadership with a quarterback, but I'm telling you, this kid is the leader of the whole team. He is like a coach, and the players respond to him. And I don't care what your background is, where you're from, all the players respond to Philip Rivers when he talks to them.
Remember, he's 0-2 against Clemson. It's a big game for him.
Yep.
2nd and goal. Did the tight end move? Yes, he did. Rivers was adjusting the play, and Sean Burton cost him 5.
False start, offense.
Burton on the flag. Kirk, very difficult on a football team to be the MVP and the most popular player, and Philip Rivers is.
Especially today, where there's such an emphasis and so much pressure on individuals to make it to the league, to make the individual accolades and be as good as you can be individually. Sometimes guys lose focus. Philip Rivers clearly has the team first and the individual goals second. And I'm telling you, watch it later in this game. You'll see him go down to the defensive players, and he'll go down and pump up Terrence Holt and Dan Burnett and get them ready to play in a big series.
5 receivers, no backs, 2nd and goal. Quick shot. Brian Peterson. What a hit by the freshman Miller. 3rd and goal coming up.
You made up for that last one.
Yeah.
It's a little easier to hit Brian Peterson than
McClendon. Yeah. But the difference is Peterson only weighs 190.
Exactly.
And McClendon weighs a lot more. But this was a great play by freshman Miller. He's from Owensboro, Kentucky. He's a terrific looking hitter and everything else. Remember, remember, he had 10 tackles against Wake Forest in his first game he ever started.
And a big interception. It really changed the complexion of that game for Clemson last week.
They need a defensive play to change the complexion here. Wolfpack timeout, 3rd and goal after this.
Jim!
ACC on this college football Thursday night as we join you from Death Valley Memorial Stadium. Clemson, South Carolina. North Carolina State has scored on a block punt and a 4th down 31-yard run by T.A. McClendon to take a 15-0 lead. And they now have 3rd and goal from the 1. And as they break the huddle, 5 come off, 5 come in. They had a power formation. Now they spread it to a wide formation. How will Clemson's personnel react? And they run Rivers up the middle. Touchdown. That's just good stuff. There's nothing you can say about that.
A little deception, a little confusion. By the time Clemson reacted, Phillip Rivers was in the end zone.
For his 8th rushing touchdown on the year, 12th on his 3-year career. Here's Kiker for the extra point to make it 22-0 in the first 20 minutes. Clemson on the ropes early. After SportsCenter around midnight Eastern tonight.
Remember, LSU was my pick to go to the BCS.
They're right there.
Still alive.
On a chicken coop.
You know, even with the injury to Matt Monk, they're still hanging in there. And the defense, I think the LSU defense this year, and I don't know how it can be, but they're better than what they had last year. And that's saying something because they won the SEC. They went on to win the Sugar Bowl against Illinois.
That's a good show. You watch it, don't you?
I watch it every week. I try to get out of here with the traffic. It's tough.
It'll be tough tonight.
By midnight, I think I got a shot if we can get the escort to get home. But I got to see the season. I see it every week.
Yes. Lee, very popular here. Did you sign that sign as well?
Yes, I did.
That's very nice.
Diana, go Tigers. Lee Corso, ESPN, who's told them to watch because an upset was in the making.
Clemson tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Certainly.
Well,
Clemson can't panic. 10-15 to go in the second quarter.
See if Whitehurst, the backup quarterback, comes out for this drive. Hamilton had to take it retreating and thus unable to get a kickoff return. So that is now a couple of kickoffs with no Hamilton returns. And here comes the backup quarterback, redshirt freshman out of the Atlanta suburb of Duluth, Georgia, Charlie Whitehurst. Whitehurst has completed 12 of 13 passes this year, but stats sometimes are misleading. Most of those completions were in garbage time against lesser opponents. He came in 3rd series against Virginia, went 0 for 1. It was a whole different world. And he's mostly in because of the Simmons fumble on the last drive. See what Whitehurst can do. He's got some good ability. Yusuf Kelly on the swing out. Got a couple of yards before Marcus Hudson, the sophomore from Miami, made the play and told him that he made the play.
It's an interesting scenario here for Willie Simmons. Last year, of course, he was the guy who came in as the backup, and now Whitehurst takes that role, and Simmons has shown a lot of maturity in dealing with that this year in a few games that they have sat him down because of the fumbling. And Whitehurst is a guy who's going to get back and throw the football. Even though he's a redshirt freshman, he's got a live arm.
This is where it's a little tougher for him, checking in and out of plays.
Sees man coverage. I try for a big one here.
He's looking that way. Launching for Hamilton. Intercepted. That is read like an easy reader. Down the sideline. Rod Johnson takes it to the 13-yard line. It's a whole different world coming in against a good team.
First of all, he was aware and he made a good check. for a redshirt freshman, sometimes in a game that matters, you're getting reps, it matters. He saw he had a one-on-one matchup. What he failed to realize was the safety, because he put so much air into the ball, had plenty of time to come over. Golden's making, he's right there, but Rod Johnson timed it perfectly and made the interception.
But that was a good check, even though the safety's sitting back there?
Yeah, good check. If he could throw it a little bit more on a line, he lofted the ball, and it gave Johnson enough time to come over and make the catch.
You notice we're talking about Johnson, all these guys. Johnson's from Texas, the two corners from Florida. They can run North Carolina State.
McClendon searching for space, and he's brought down behind the line of scrimmage. Play by Donnell Washington, the sophomore out of South Carolina.
Let me tell you something. I mean, and watching North Carolina State play this year, and I know this, everybody's saying how good is this team really? I mean, we really haven't seen them play anybody. You know what? This team with Chuck Amato coming in after 18 years at Florida State reminds me more of the old Florida State teams than the Florida State team that we've seen this year when it comes to just overall speed and an attitude, being aggressive every single time they're out there.
This is 2nd and 13. Cotchery in motion. Rivers stepped right up and gave it to Burton's tight end. The former West Virginia Mountaineer who transferred after Rich Rodriguez replaced Don Nealon at head coach.
Speaking of that, Rivers reminds me a lot of Danny Werfel when he was at Florida. Remember Danny Werfel had an awkward throw in which all he did was win the Heisman, which Rivers is on my list as the 3rd candidate. This kid's a wonderful football player. The thing I like about him the most, Kurt, is his composure.
And I think a lot of the experience that he's been able to receive in 3 years of being under center has helped him be that way. But we saw him one of his first starts as a freshman, and he's kind of always had that attitude.
Try to step up and make one of these plays to stay in the game. Rivers' 3rd and 7 throw intercepted by Brian Mance, his 5th on the season, and a big play for the Tigers.
All right, I'm going to give you one stat, and I'll let you take the replay. That, my friends, is only the 2nd interception that Rivers has thrown the entire year in the first half. Only number 2, Kirk.
And I watched Phillip Rivers after he threw the ball, and he went straight to Hicks to talk to him about continuing to come on the run. Because Hicks is making this is a tough throw to make, but see how he stopped? I think Phillip Rivers' eyes, he was expecting Hicks to keep coming and coming back down towards the football. And when he stopped, Mance was right there to make the interception.
Whitehurst back in at quarterback for Clemson. Kelly is the tailback. This is Jackie Robinson, graduate student, one of several grad students on this Clemson team. With his 11th grab of the season, it's for 6 yards.
Having been in this situation before, behind by 22 points, I'm an expert at this. What Tommy Bowden and the staff has got to do is try to get at least something, maybe 7, before they get in at halftime. Don't panic. You've got the kind of offense. You're at home. You can come back and still win this football game.
2nd and 4. They go inside after the reverse action. Yusuf Kelly gains a couple of yards, and 3rd and 2 ahead. And this is a play they need to pick up. They haven't been able to sustain anything in this first half.
You're saying don't panic, and I'm saying, hey, let's not throw every single time. You know, it's so early in this game. Continue to mix in the run the football out of the eye. If North Carolina State's going to play a lot of 3-man front, then try to run the football out.
Rambert hasn't been in the last few series. The fullback Jasmine carries, and he is shy of the first down.
Well, what do you think? 3rd down, less than a yard. It's 4th down, less than a yard near 30. They're going to punt the ball, and everybody's going to boo. Let me tell you my favorite story.
Okay.
Everybody boos, and then when you go for it, don't make it. Everybody says, I told you should have punted. What a stupid coach. This is the right call. Win or lose in this situation, I'm telling you, it's the right call.
3rd and 2 like that, and you get beat up front, and I mean dominated up front. That's just one team playing with an attitude, the other team not.
Wynn Kopp got run into, but he didn't fall down quick enough to get the flag. It was taken dangerously on the run and brought out to the 41. A lot happened on that punt. It'll be NC State ball. All Wolfpack, they lead by 22.
This is college football, where every week it's elimination time.
Anything can happen from now on.
Can the luck of the Irish keep Notre Dame undefeated?
Ball bounces off the tuba, off the drum, into the end zone. Touchdown, Irish.
ESPN College Game Day is live from Tallahassee, Florida, to preview the game of the week between the unbeaten Irish and powerhouse Florida State.
The road to that national championship game league goes right through this state every year.
College Game Day at 10:30, followed by Iowa, Michigan at noon, Saturday on ESPN. Lights. ESPN College Football Thursday night, presented by Circuit City. Brought to you by Saturn, makers of The View, redesigned L-Series, and the all-new Ion. And by Bud Light, for the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down. Make it a Bud Light.
They've played football here for the last 60 years. The 11th largest on-campus stadium in the country, Clemson's Memorial Stadium. Right now, North Carolina State is putting on a great display, leading 22-0. One special team scores and two pretty good offensive. One drive and the other one taking advantage of a Clemson opportunity after a turnover. T.A. McClendon, the freshman, 4 yards. You see some of the nastiness of North Carolina State right on that play, playing to the whistle. Woo. Jerry Punch is visiting with Philip Rivers' dad.
And Michael, I'm actually up in the stands with the entire Rivers family. I'm with the 9-year-old younger brother Stephen. I'm with mom Joan and Steve the dad. And Steve, watching your son play tonight, you smile the whole time I've been sitting here. It must be an incredible joy to watch this young man, how he's matured as a football player.
Well, it's a great joy for all of us to watch this team. Well, it wasn't much fun on that interception just a minute ago, but this game's been fun so far. But watching this Wolfpack football team is just quite a thrill. Coach Amato's done an outstanding job with them.
Now, you're a football coach, a high school football coach. We're going to let you look at the monitor here and watch some of the replays of the incredible play your young man has had tonight.
Good knock around there.
Pretty unorthodox throwing motion.
Well, yeah, the biggest thing he's worked on is moving around the pocket in the offseason and quickness, and I think he's gotten a little quicker and he runs the ball a little better.
That was his focus in the offseason, was trying to get fast, trying to add some speed and quickness, despite the fact that he wanted to put on weight.
Yeah, well, he didn't put on a whole lot of weight, a few pounds, but he certainly got quicker.
Wide open in the middle, Jerry. Sean Burton, the tight end. First down to the 36. Pick up the 16. Go ahead, Doc.
And, Dad, I think Chuck Amato has his entire football team believing that they are going to be a factor here and that this 8-0 was no fluke.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you're talking about Phillip and asking me about Phillip, but you look tonight and you see special teams doing a great job. You see the defense has got Clemson shut out at Death Valley. You know, that doesn't happen very often so far. And I mean, he's just got a great family developed here at the Wolfpack in football, and we're just happy to be a part of it.
Okay, listen, hey, Dad, congratulations on having a great son, and Mom, enjoy the game tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
Here is T.A. McClendon. He gains about 4 or 5 yards, dancing out by the 31-yard line. You saw Phillip's younger brother, Steven, there. He's a 9-year-old, and he gets to be ball boy for Dad's team because the parents moved from Alabama to that Carolina area. There is Steven. How about this? We told you in the pregame, Phillip has a baby now. He and his wife have a baby daughter, so he's got a big brother who's the star quarterback of an undefeated team, and he's an uncle at age 9, and he gets to be the ball boy for Dad, who's the high school coach in North Carolina. He's talking about life is good.
Total package.
Oh,
life is good.
That is nice. 2nd and 6. Here's the throw to Peterson. Good open field play by Altroy Bodrick, the Rover. A 2-yard loss. We mentioned Dad's high school team, Wakefield, was 0-4. They've now come back and won their last 4. And they're tied for the conference lead with 2 games to go. But, you know, son of a coach, we talk about it all the time, and you live through it, Kirk. It's just a different feel for the game of football out there.
Yeah, it's a different feel, and I think you mature earlier because you're always around the game. You learn to love the game at a very young age, and it becomes a way of life. You know, you live, you sleep, you eat football, and I think it affects you once you get to the point where you can go out and perform at this level.
And I think also a coach's son has a more valued part of teamwork, and that's why a lot of them are called captains, if you ever noticed.
Leadership.
And I bet you were a captain, weren't you?
Yep. Leadership is always a big part of that.
That's it.
And you know, we've talked about some of the things that separate him from other quarterbacks, and it's the unselfishness. Probably that's one of his greatest qualities. And of course, his dad, I'm sure encouraged him to feel that way at a very early age.
Well, Dad is now a grandpa as well as Philip, and his wife had a baby, Hallie, born in July. It's a new responsibility for the leader of the Wolfpack and the leader of the family as well.
Well, as I said before, and
Are you big? You're not big. Are you a big girl yet? I've tried to leave football there when I put in a lot of extra time as far as film work and studying and schoolwork and all that. Football is really important in my life, but you look at life and that kind of stuff, and it just really, like you said, levels your head a little bit.
Now look at that shot.
That's beautiful.
He's even unorthodox in holding the 3-month-old, right, Herbie?
You gotta work on that.
You gotta get that up there a little bit. You can't, everything that Philip Rivers does with the football is kind of off the shoulder here. You gotta have the kid up on the high on the shoulder.
It's all about technique there.
Like the one hand on the back of the neck and up there, not off the side.
Everything's to the side of it.
That's right.
As we said before the ball game, I'm saying again tonight, and Saturday we're talking about the Heisman again on game day. I want to just go over this one point, the fact that Dorsey, Leftwich, and Rivers are my top 3 guys. And after seeing him tonight, there's no question in my mind he should be up there with anybody in the country as a Heisman Trophy candidate.
And that race is so wide open. If he keeps playing well, he's undoubtedly going to get up there.
It's just 3rd and 8 for Rivers after the Pack took its final time out of the half. McClendon shy of the first down by 4 yards. It'll be a 47 or 8-yard field goal attempt coming up after Jamerson made the tackle. CA ran out of his shoes.
Want to break down the Heisman real quick? Again, is that what you said?
No, but we're going to do that on Saturday at College Game Day. And I just wanted to alert you to the fact that I think this kid's a terrific prospect.
What do you got, Leftwich at 1?
No, Dorsey 1, Leftwich 2.
Excuse me, we have a commercial and Clemson timeout. Okay. North Carolina State brought the band, brought some fans, and has brought an attitude tonight. Up 22 and going for it here on 4th and 4. And Lee, as you pointed out during the timeout, too long for their field goal kicker. And why not? Last time they went for it on 4th and 1, McClendon had a 31-yard touchdown run. Play fake, hiding the ball is Rivers. His throw is broken up by Brian Mance, who has made 2 very big plays to get the ball out of NC State's hands and Clemson's offense back on the field.
That was great technique there by Mance to come over the top. They tried to get him to bite on McClendon. Hard play action sell. McClendon's trying to carry it out. He hides the football. And he throws the ball low and away for the receiver. And give Mance a lot of credit for keeping his right arm off of Cotchery and bringing a left arm down. That is very nice play by Brian Mance.
He has made 2 sick interceptions the last couple of weeks. Whitehurst still in the game. His 3rd series. He's in trouble. Just out of the pocket, got rid of it. Dangerous throw was almost intercepted. Incomplete. Here's Chris Fowler in the studio. Hey, Chris.
Mike, the Pontiac Performance halftime report features news and notes in the SEC. Some of it pretty weird. Iowa coach Kirk Ferentz joined us. Hawkeyes Wolverines this Saturday, and Trev and Mark make their predictions on the Fighting Irish and the Seminoles this Saturday. It's at halftime.
Okay, partner. See you then. As Lee, Kirk, and Chris will be down in Tallahassee on Saturday for College Game Day at noon at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, right before Iowa, Michigan, Saturday on ESPN. Whitehurst, nobody open. He can't run like Simmons, and he goes down with a loss of about a half yard. Clemson continuing to let the clock run down here inside of 2 minutes, facing 3rd and 11.
You know, last week Clemson was behind, and they came out in the second half, and they forced 5 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumble recoveries, plus the fact they can throw the football. I know it doesn't look good for them right now, but don't turn off your dial. This is possibly could have a good rally coming up in the second half.
3rd and 11, home run ball. Incomplete. It was almost intercepted on the pass intended for Jackie Robinson by Greg Golden, the sophomore out of Fort Lauderdale. But NC State's defense has limited Clemson to 68 yards on 25 plays here. Whitehurst has been ineffective, and NC State has come close to blocking punts on 2 different occasions. Add that to the punt they've blocked, And be careful here. That one away. Spinning to Conchery at the 38. Jericho picked up one block, but has a flag down for an illegal block. Back there as well. 37-yard punt, well covered by Clemson and Rodney Feaster, along with Rodney Thomas. Only the 4th penalty of the night. The 3rd on North Carolina State. Well, we mentioned Saturday on ESPN after College Game Day. We'll take it to the Big House for a big game. Number 14 Iowa and number 8 Michigan. And in prime time, Alabama, Tennessee. Doesn't get much better than that. Presented by the United States Postal Service. A couple of great conference rivalries in the Big Ten and the SEC. Your college football Saturday on ESPN. Looks like a chance of rain in the Big House on Saturday for the Iowa game.
That is a huge game in October in Ann Arbor. Iowa has become the team that a lot of people feel it's one of the teams to beat in the Big Ten, and they've got to go on the road and take on Lloyd Carr and the Wolverines. That should be an exciting matchup.
Rivers hands it to McClendon as this drive starts from the 30. Nice play, good open field tackle by one of the 2 middle backers, John Leak, who leads this team in tackles. He's from Texas. When you talk about quarterbacks, Kirk, John Navarre has improved drastically from the early portion of this season for Michigan.
You know, I think the Illinois game, about 3 or 4 games back, on the road, got his confidence back. And I think you're also seeing Ronald Bellamy develop a little bit more. Braylon Edwards has kind of become the Marquise Walker, David Terrell, this offense this year. They're starting to put together a nice offensive package here. Still like to see Chris Perry or somebody with more of a game breaker from the backfield there.
From the 30, McClendon. 3 yards, just spinning the clock down towards the end of the half.
Before they leave, I want to go on record saying this.
Yes,
if I'm Tommy Bowden, I go back to Willie Sims. I saw Willie Sims against Florida State with you, Kirk. He did some nice things. I don't think Whitehurst has the ability. Willie Simmons has the ability to run. He has the ability to throw. He has the ability to get him back. I don't think Whitehurst has got the experience. So, Tommy, I'm telling you from up here right now, go to Willie Simmons. He's your best chance to come from behind with 22.
I think we're all in agreement. Yeah, you got to go to the guy who, even though he's upset about the fumbles, he's the guy who's been around. You have to go with him. The other thing is, well, we can talk about all we can evaluate this first half and analyze it. Bottom line is, they're getting whipped up front on both sides of the ball. North Carolina State is dominating the game in the trenches, and they have the skill to go along with it.
An impressive performance from number 9 NC State, leading 22-0 at the end of the first half. Pontiac Performance halftime report ahead. First, Jerry with Chuck Amato.
Coach, offense, defense, special teams. Looks like your young men are making a statement here tonight.
Well, we did for 30 minutes. Unfortunately, this game's going to last 60. If it was only 30, we could go home and celebrate, but we've got to do it for 30 more minutes.
Hey, thanks, Coach. Good luck in the second half.
You're welcome.
Michael?
Do you love Pesci or what? Joe Pesci. He's the best. Clemson gets the ball to start the second half, Chris. State's going to get the ball on defense, and they're going to have to stop Clemson, okay?
Joe Pesci, love it.
Oh, wow. Well, Pesci's team shooting down the fraud theory that's been put forth in some newspapers. Coming up on the Pontiac Performance halftime report, Trev and Mark will weigh in on the Fighting Irish. Toughest challenge so far. Kirk Ferentz of Iowa joins us. And K-Dub, Kelly Washington, says he knows how to jumpstart the Vols offense. That's coming up.
This halftime report presented by Pontiac. Fuel for the soul.
Welcome back to Pontiac Performance halftime report. The Wolfpack, Trev, dominating Clemson 22-0.
I'm a believer.
Yeah, okay.
They're great. NC State's a great
says
football
only 30 minutes so far. Well, we got some news and notes. It has been an absolutely bizarre season in the SEC. Off the field, on the field, in the standings, and now this from LSU. Damian James, senior starting free safety, #1 tackler on the Tigers team, a team that's undefeated in the SEC West, has left the team. Now, his teammates say it's a complete mystery. They are not sure why. LSU officials say they have heard from James. He is okay, he's well, but he's not with the team, and Saban says even if he wants to, at this point, he's not going to come back. at Arkansas. Jermaine Brooks, starting defensive lineman, captain, kicked off the team, charged with suspicion of felony drugs and weapon charges. 7.5 pounds of marijuana seized at his home in Fayetteville. Hogs morale not high. Penn State's Adam Talaferro, a triumphant return. He's getting better. He's getting healthier. He returns to Columbus, where 2 years ago he suffered that partial paralysis in the game. Buckeyes and the Nittany Lions on Saturday. And Georgia goes to Kentucky very banged up. Musa Smith and Fred Gibson have both had thumb surgery this week. Now, Gibson's out. Musa Smith still maintaining he might be able to try to play, although that seems very unlikely with a cast in his hand. John Stinchcomb, the knee, he's out, offensive lineman, and the kicker, Billy Bennett, salmonella. He hasn't practiced all week. And Tennessee, Casey Clausen, as they get set to take on Alabama in the third Saturday in October. He is probable for Saturday's game with the shoulder injury. He missed the Georgia game. He says it would have beat Georgia by a couple touchdowns if he played. This quote from teammate Kelly Washington. Why to jumpstart the Vols offense? He says, well, that's the coach's job, and that's what they get paid for. Then he turns around and says that they got to find ways to get their main man, and 3 guesses who that means, the ball. We're going to have to try some different things, possibly getting me some quarterback work. I don't know what Clausen thinks of that. I'm not sure what the backup quarterback thinks of what Clausen said. I don't know what's going on there. That's an interesting quote.
Well, if I'm Phil Fulmer, I'm getting really tired of hearing Kelly Washington talk about what this team needs to have. Remember, this is the same guy early in the season who said, look, I'm going to play when I want to play. I think that's wrong. What's wrong with Tennessee right now? You have a football team that's lost 2 games. There's a bunch of individuals on this football team. Do they understand the team concept, Mark? You have 2 losses. I think they lose to Alabama. Too many individuals.
Well, I agree with you on that, but I think for Kelly Washington, here's a situation. You're getting a 23-year-old sophomore that should be a leader of this football team. He played professional baseball, former baseball player, and they're just not getting it. He should worry about the Alabama defense, not about getting him the ball. Here against Southern Miss, Derek Nix trying to get some yards against this tough defense, #1 against the rush in the SEC, and gets stuffed. Here against Arkansas, rolls out, Razorback quarterback Mac Jones feels the pressure, throws the interception. There's the Alabama defense, and this is a defensive front that's very good at getting to the quarterback. They have 23 sacks on the season, but the key is 18 of those 23 sacks are by defensive linemen, so they're getting pressure and getting sacks without having to blitz the quarterback.
Bama would seem to be the more cohesive of the 2 teams as they get set to meet in Knoxville. Tennessee's won the last 7 in this series. This is a nice bad blood game. These fans don't like each other. The probation, the investigations, that just spices things up. 7:45 Eastern time. Iowa, Michigan is the noon game on ESPN following College Game Day. We can update the World Series Game 5. It's tied at 2-2 coming in on the Giants behind the Barry Bonds RBI double in the first, and a Benito Santiago on a sac fly. Jared Washburn walked in the 3rd run. Bottom 2 Giants up on the Angels in San Francisco. Kirk Ferentz of Iowa, as they get set to battle Michigan, will join us coming up on halftime. We're back on the Pontiac Performance halftime report. In the Big Ten, still 4 teams within a game of first place. Now, Iowa and Ohio State do not play. Ohio State hosting Penn State. Lions got to have the win. And Iowa visiting the Big House and Michigan this Saturday. And joining us now, coach of the co-leaders in the Big Ten, Kirk Ferentz of Iowa, set to travel to Michigan's Big House this Saturday. Coach, talk about the building of this team. Fans around the country might know about Brad Banks and Russell, the dynamic duo, but you really have built this team. No frills, no shortcuts from the offensive and defensive lines outward, haven't you?
It's really true, Chris, and I think that's something I learned when I came here in 1981. It was Coach Fry's 3rd year in this program, and as you know, he really did a great job of resurrecting Iowa football, and he took the same approach. There were no shortcuts. We tried to do things one step at a time, and I think that's what we've done here over the last couple of years, and just so happens that we are very veteran in our offensive line. Got a lot of guys that have played a lot of games. Unfortunately, they had to play many of them before they were ready to go, but I think all that has paid off for them, and they're doing a great job for us right now.
What made your guys believe this was possible? This is not a team of super prep All-Americans. You got a lot of self-made guys, some walk-ons, some other guys who were overlooked or not wanted by a lot of schools.
I think that's part of the fun of coaching at Iowa. It's a tradition here. We've had a lot of great players that were heavily recruited. We've had a lot more probably great players that weren't maybe selected or had the chance to go to some of the elite quote-unquote schools. So, you know, our guys have taken great pride in the way they do things. And one thing I've noticed in football at all levels, you know, there are a lot of different ways to get to a successful level of play. And you look at the pros, there's probably never been a greater quarterback than Johnny Unitas, and who had a tougher road to stardom. So I think that's something our players realize if they work hard and try to improve on a daily basis. That's a foundation the program was built on back in the 80s. Good things can happen.
All right, let's look at the Michigan game now. If there's a concern, it would seem to me on the outside to be defensive secondary. The stats are not good. Michigan has those weapons. Is some trepidation going into the big house facing their passing game?
Well, I don't think it's any secret we've given up more passing yardage than we'd care to during the entire season. But the bottom line is right now we've had one defeat, and it seems like when our guys need to make a play, they find a way to get it done. That was true last week over at Indiana. We had a real tough ball game, gave up a lot of yardage, but we came up with big plays in the red zone. So that's one thing our team has done. And, I'm not a big stat guy. I think stats are important to look at time to time, but the bottom line is how those game films look. And I think our guys are getting better week in and week out back there.
Obviously, look at the schedule ahead. This is a huge hurdle. Are your guys beginning to dream about what might be possible in a Big Ten title in the Rose Bowl and that kind of thing? You got to keep them grounded?
Yeah, I think we're probably a couple weeks away from that right now. We're halfway with our schedule in the league. Many teams haven't played half the schedule yet. We're a week ahead. So our focus right now is on playing Michigan. We have to give it our best effort. We all realize that to be successful. And win, lose, or draw, when it's all said and done, we still have 3 very tough ball games on our schedule afterwards.
Well, you conquered Happy Valley. Look forward to seeing how you handle the big house. Kirk, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your time. Best of luck.
Chris, I appreciate you having us on. Thank you.
Mark, your former O-line coach there at Pitt. He knows, I think he knows they're going to have to outscore people to beat him with that defense. And their offense is capable of it.
Yeah, and they can do it. They're very balanced on offense. Running the ball and throwing the ball is balanced as a team in the Big Ten, in my opinion. They run it for 219 a game, and they throw it for 213. And these are 2 of the reasons why. You start off at the quarterback position with Brad Banks. He does some outstanding things, in my opinion, with the football when he runs with the football and throws it on the run. Look how smooth he is out of the pocket. A perfect spiral. There's 6 for a touchdown. That's against Penn State. Here against Akron, Fred Russell. Look at the small guy, 5'8", gets between the tackles and makes his moves down the field to play. They are dynamic on offense. As Chris said, they're going to have to outscore their opponent. How about Michigan, Trev?
I think Iowa's the best team in the Big Ten, but if they have a weakness, it's their defense. And against Michigan, I mean, people talk about Braylon Edwards, but they beat you with guys like this right here. Benny Jumper at tight end, great catch right there. And then at fullback, B.J. Askew. You're going to see him here out of the backfield, catches the football. That's why I think this Michigan offense is so difficult to defend, because of how they spread the football around. Bob Sanders going to have to be able to cover that tight end or cover the fullback. In the bottom line, that offense of Iowa, too good. I like Iowa.
Oh, you like Iowa?
Yes.
That's good.
Going to win in the big house.
Yeah.
All Michigan games seem to be close, and in close games, Iowa big edge, field goal kicking. Nate Katie, he's like a college version of Jason Elam. Cat has not missed, hasn't missed. Michigan struggling on the field goal kicking. Notre Dame Florida State predictions coming up next.
This halftime report presented by Pontiac. Fuel for the soul.
2 weeks for Florida State to recover from the Miami heartbreak. Now they're favorites, and many people believe this is the week Notre Dame goes down. They will not make Florida State look quite as slow as they did Air Force, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think 7-1 is for Notre Dame's record after this game. I think that Florida State's defense gained so much confidence, Mark, when they were able to somewhat shut down Miami's run game. And on the other side, I think that Greg Jones understands a huge game on a national scene, because everybody else has got a dud or two. He could jump himself way up on the Heisman. I like Florida State, but close. Very good football game.
I can't believe I'm totally agreeing with you on this football game. But the other key, I think, is going to be Chris Ricks. He's really stepped it up in his past 2 games. He's not thrown an interception. I think he's learned a lot over the last 2 ball games for Florida State, and I think he's going to be a key in this football game, how he protects the football, not only handling it.
He's going to have to pass more than 8 times.
I think all the Noles realize, not just Jones, this is a chance, national stage, big-name opponent, undefeated team to kind of regain their good name. I will say Notre Dame looks better in person than I thought they would from watching them on TV. They did look pretty good in person, but it's not a prediction.
They look good on TV, too.
Yeah, they look more impressive athletically. Yeah. The Rams and the Cougars are coming up in about 40 minutes over on ESPN2. The second half from Death Valley is coming up. The Wolfpack using special teams and defense set up touchdowns. Tigers in a big hole.
Phillip Rivers was just 9 of 15 for 70 yards, but managed a very good first half. State scored 2 touchdowns on offense, 1 via special teams, leading Clemson 22-0. Rivers will wait to get on the field as Clemson will get the ball to start the second half. They won the toss and deferred the option at the start of the game. Mike Tirico, Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit, Dr. Jerry Punch with you from Death Valley, where the Clemson faithful came ready to try to help the team. The team has hurt itself. Derek Hamilton finally gets his hands on the ball from the 1 and is stuck right away. A return of 21 to the 22. Autry Lindsay on the tackle, and a marker down as well. So we'll check the flag. Looks like Clemson will have a longer field. We'll see who comes out. Quarterback for the Tigers in half number 2. All right, they'll have a long field to go. Let's check in with Jerry Punch and his visit with Clemson's head coach.
Tommy, special teams, turnovers, a lot of that hurt you in the first half. What do you have to do to climb back in here in the second half?
Well, we got to stop doing those things. You know, we have no continuity right now in offense. Opened up a bad field position. We stopped on the field goal, and then got the punt block. But that shouldn't have gotten us this confused. We need to just settle down on offense, make some plays, get back in the game.
Quarterback situation in the second half. Will you use both guys?
Yeah, no, we're going to go with Willie right now. We just want to settle him down. So some things happened. Wasn't his fault. We dropped some balls and did some things. We're going to put him back in, just settle him down and go with him.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. Good luck to you.
Willie's first pass, Doc, incomplete to Kevin Youngblood, and Willie Simmons hasn't played much since the opening quarter. You see his poor numbers thus far tonight.
It's a Clemson offense right now that is reeling, looking for anything to try to get some confidence going.
Never gotten into rhythm at all tonight. Bernardo Rambert, this has been the best offensive play they've had. Rambert running the ball. He did it 6 times for 30 yards in the first half. He picked up 8, tackled by Terrence Holt. The first half stats will show you just 68 total yards for the Tigers on 25 plays. Meantime, State was solid. And the starting field position, they had a short field to work with most of that half.
It's something that doesn't show up there, the hidden yardage. North Carolina State 190 yards on returns.
Holt blitzes, Simmons throws, first down, much more for Youngblood. Keeping his feet, Kevin Youngblood, the junior from Jacksonville, is pushed out at the 43, a pickup of 23, first down Tigers.
You talked about tempo. We haven't seen them get into rhythm because this offense is designed to pick up first downs and then get to the line of scrimmage and get this thing going. The play clock's just now starting. They're down to 22 seconds. They're ready to go. That's what this offense is built around, and they haven't really been able to do that all night.
Looking over to the sideline for the play was Simmons, and now he will give the protection to the line and make the adjustment with his skill players. Move the pocket to the left. A little spin out on the run. Harry's Curry. First catch, first down. 41-yard line. 16 there. Curry, sophomore from Columbia.
Now, Aries Curry is a 5'11", 175 sophomore from Columbia, South Carolina. What they do is they roll out Simmons and they just stop him right there. Now he becomes a ball carrier. That's what I like about the receivers so far from Clemson. They're turning themselves into runners after they catch the football.
They do a lot of the long handoff type of offense with this spread that really grew when Bowden and Rich Rodriguez, who were at Tulane, went through an undefeated season. Rambert runs up the middle to the 27. 14 first down yards, and the crowd is back in it. Here's Doc.
Guys, the Clemson locker room at halftime, the primary focus this first drive in the second half. Willie Simmons, some of the other leaders in there talking about we have got to get 7, cannot settle for 3. They were going to go 4 wide receivers, try to even up the defensive front. NC State have been running an odd man front, rushing 3 and covering 8, and the 4 wide receivers thus far in the first drive working for the Clemson Tigers.
It's worked very well, Jerry, after that first incompletion. Simmons comes down to McKelvey. Here goes JJ with room. In the red zone to the 19-yard line.
Brad Scott clearly has made some adjustments. Doc just touched on a few of them. The other thing they're doing a nice job of is flooding the zone, taking a lot of the receivers deep. They've had a lot of success this year with Willie Simmons with 4 vertical receivers, and he can hit the seams. You can tell North Carolina State has been schooled on that this week. They've made the adjustments of sending those receivers deep and then keeping one short when the vacated zone is, and he's able to put the ball in there for some big gains.
2nd and 3. Chad Jasmine, the fullback, comes in to block for Rambert. Try to cut it back and is just shy of the first down. We'll have 3rd and a yard coming up. 2.5 minutes in, 3rd quarter. Clemson trying to win this game, knock off number 9 in the country, and keep its record above 500. Tiger fans have been turning on their team in frustration as Wake Forest kept the ball with that option-based rush attack, ran for a total, I should say, over 500 yards. But Clemson forced the 5 turnovers Lee alluded to earlier and won the game here last Saturday. Measurement. As you saw from the yellow line, just shy. I love the fact that the chain here is orange.
Yeah, everything.
Do you notice that watching the Wake Forest game?
Yeah, you get the paw everywhere all over this campus.
On the roads.
All over the roads.
2 things for sure. Brad Scott up there, the offensive coordinator, the Sanders offensive staff, we're going for it. We're not going to try to get 3. They're going to go 2 times right here for this 1 yard.
Yusuf Kelly's the back as Rambert came out. They give it to Kelly. He tries it left side. I think it'll be very close. Might be shy of the first down.
How many times have we seen these spread offenses get into short yardage situations and not be able to just get back in there and get tough to get a yard or 2? And we're looking at 2 teams that have run this offense for the last few years. NC State has made that adjustment to become more physical. Clemson still struggles when they get into 3rd and short and 4th and 4th.
Here they go on 4th and less than a yard. Simmons just looks for the space, pushes forward, and it all depends on where they spot it.
Fumbled, I think.
Oh, did he lose it? So the state players are saying, waiting for confirmation there from the officials, and it is NC State ball. So Clemson moves it down the field with very little problem, but then on 4th and less than a yard twice, they cannot pick it up. That time, Simmons might have lost the handle. Clemson lost the ball, and NC State will take over. On game days, the town of Clemson, South Carolina, population under 12,000, goes 6 times as high when you fill up Death Valley Memorial Stadium. That ratio, attendance and a sellout to population, is larger than any other school in the country. Penn State's next. But no matter what the ratio is, these fans aren't making a lot of noise right now. They've been silenced by NC State. T.A. McClendon off to the races. Can he win the foot race? No, but he's pulled down at the 18. Justin Miller caught him 65 yards. So they go from their worst field position of the night, take McClendon's longest run of his career, and get inside the red zone just like that.
I'm telling you right now, this North Carolina State offensive line is for real. These guys have a bulldog mentality. We just saw Clemson get into the short yardage situation and couldn't do anything. T.A. McClendon gets a lot of credit, and he's a good back, but this offensive line in North Carolina State is physical.
The reason why I like their offensive line is they have 2 former defensive linemen in there that makes them tougher.
Brought that mentality over with them, didn't it?
Absolutely.
54, Sean Locklear made that block. Here is McClendon strung out that time. Looks like he took a shot in the face, then took another one as he hit the ground. And McClendon shaken up. Khalid Vaughn got to him first. And then Donnell Washington fell on McClendon, infuriating the state sideline that wanted a late hit flag. None coming. Even with the loss of yardage there, McClendon has really stepped it up and was reminded by everyone around that this was a national TV game and it was time for TA to show up.
Chuck Camato told us last night, he said, you know, you've got some regional games, but this one, the whole world's watching this one. You really need to play well in this one.
A movement flag. If that's on Burton, that's his 2nd of the night. Sean, the tight end out of Pennsylvania.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense.
You know, Sean Burton reminds me of a point in visiting with him last night. He's a young man who transferred from West Virginia and came here. And, of course, you have to sit out that transfer year. So many of you know that rule. There are a lot of unfair things about the NCAA rules, and that's one of them. He transferred out of West Virginia. Rich Rodriguez came in with this spread offense that has no need for a tight end. So this guy got penalized because of a coaching change, an assistant that doesn't fit a tight end. You explain to me why it should cost him a season of playing. 2nd and 18 for Rivers. Little throw it forward to Josh Brown. Gets it to the 19.
Can I explain the reason why?
Oh, I know the reason why.
Okay, but you asked me to explain it. I explained it. Number one, if they had that situation where you could do that, then everybody in America would make excuses like the left guard is I'm not pulling enough and I'm going to go someplace else. The reason why you do that is not let guys go is because college coaches would raid other schools for more players.
Absolutely.
And that's why they don't have the rule of redshirt. Fair or unfair, that's why they have the rule.
3rd and 10 for Rivers. Dumps it out to McClendon, who's back in the game and picked up nothing as he was held on to by John Leak. And a flag comes down for what looks to be a late hit. Leak had him, was holding on. McClendon leaned towards the out of bounds, and there's a resigned look on the face of the Clemson head coach throughout this second half.
You know, Tommy Bowden gets upset with Willie Simmons over fumbles. He sits him down. When a player on 3rd and 11 makes a mistake like that, when your defense makes a stop, he needs to react the same way, because you just caused North Carolina State to have to kick a field goal. And when you have somebody coming in over the top like that and hitting late, that's uncalled for.
Rodney Feaster was flagged, and you saw Bowden over there, headsets off with a word for 47 as we came back. 1st and goal for the Wolfpack. Burton, the lead blocker for Brown. Josh Brown lost a yard there. Brian Mance joined Rodney Thomas to make the play.
I can always tell when a good football player like 41 Rodney Thomas makes a play like that. And you look down the chart, the defensive coordinator, John Lovett, said he's the leader of the football team because he's getting beat 22-0. It looks bad, and boom, he makes the play. You can find your football players better now than any other time as a head football coach who quits and who doesn't quit.
Josh Brown, sophomore, gets a yard. It'll be 3rd and long coming up, and there, Lee, is a little bit of what you talked about with Thomas. T.A. McClendon trying to get himself back in the game. This true freshman has scored his 13th touchdown of the year and has rushes of 24, 31, and 65 yards tonight, as North Carolina State has built a 22-point lead here at Clemson, trying to get to 9-0. Chuck Amato's alma mater has never been 9-0. Third and goal, Rivers, incomplete. Clemson's secondary has been sharp in these red zone situations tonight. All right, if Carolina State was able to pour on a couple of more here, it could be 40-0 at this point.
It's a combination of good coverage, and right now, Phillip just isn't throwing the ball as well as he is capable of throwing.
Field goal attempt coming for Adam Kiker. If you weren't with us earlier, the holder, Chris Young, on the old swinging gate, had a 2-point conversion. He's missed from 32 off the upright, missed from 27. And perfect. North Carolina State takes a 4-score lead. It's 25-0.
ESPN College Football Thursday night, presented by Circuit City. Brought to you by Cadillac. Bold vehicles, defying convention. And by the NASDAQ 100 Index, the companies moving the world forward.
Well, if you watch ESPN on a regular basis, you might recognize that group. That is Team Kobe from Beg, Borrow, and Deal, the new reality-based show on ESPN. And Team Kobe is here at Clemson. Bubba from Team Kobe over there on the left side. Bubba is a big Clemson guy. On the right side, I beg your pardon. He's a huge Clemson fan and is here to enjoy the game tonight along with the rest of Team Kobe. Hamilton up the middle with his kick return to the 32-yard line. And Big Borrow and Deal have a bunch of things that you can try to do to get points, accomplishing tasks on the goal to get to Alcatraz. I think since you guys are the unmistakable trio of college football, you guys with Chris Fowler, and maybe I could be the fourth to be even out the team. Try some of these. Ride with a minor league baseball team on a minor league bus.
Oh, I've done that with Indiana football.
You have no resource. They just throw you out there and say, go.
Can we show the Team Kobe again? I'll show you what I would do if you did that.
Okay.
Let me show you what I would do.
From the 32-yard line, the ball fake by Simmons, who looks middle, passes incomplete.
All you got to do is you send the allies in.
The allies?
there's a portion of team. See, you send this crew in right here to get anything you might need. That's the first thing I would establish as a team leader.
Well, one thing, they take a picture with an Olympic bronze, silver, or gold medalist, and with the medal around your neck, actually. They've done that. All four lead the crowd in singing the national anthem before a baseball game. They did that in Milwaukee throughout the first pitch at Comiskey Park. Some of the tasks they've accomplished on Beg, Borrow, and Deal thus far this year. Here is Simmons in all kinds of trouble, brought down at the 30-yard line. Doc is with Team Kobe right now.
And Michael, indeed I am. I am with Bubba, Kelly, Juliet, and Josh as you go from my left to your... And you guys had a great... we saw you run down the hill, Bubba, in the pregame. How exciting was that? Just being around campus and being a part of this this festival.
Well, being a Clemson grad, it was incredible to be a part of the greatest, most exciting 25 seconds in all of college football. It's the greatest place on earth, Clemson University.
Can you believe the opportunity this show has given you of task of being able you had to accomplish with no money, just your own wit and a little bit of connive?
It's been absolutely amazing, and to get a chance to do it with these people right here, it's been the excitement of a lifetime.
Of all the tasks you've had to accomplish, what has been the most difficult?
I would say getting a chance to sing the national anthem at a Major League Baseball game, which was very tough.
Now, what about, you've met a lot of high-profile athletes, been to a lot of arenas, a lot of special stadiums. Which athlete has gone above and beyond to help you guys? Is there anybody that stands out in your mind?
Definitely Jason Sehorn. He drove us. He gave us a ride from New Jersey to New York, back into the city. Took time out of his day after practice just to give us a ride. That was great.
But Kirk Herbstreit probably would have done that. I mean, he circled you guys and he sent you two in, and the task is done.
Yeah, we do anything for him, too. So, yeah, no problem. We do a lot of favors for all the sports athletes, too, you know.
Did you guys have a great time? Would you do this again?
Any day of the week. Anytime. Yeah, it was definitely an amazing experience.
It's something that we would never get a chance to do again, and some of the places we got to go and things that we got to do were just phenomenal. So it was a tremendous experience.
Well, a sensational show, guys. Beg, Borrow, and Deal. These guys are up 8-5, and the first 1 to 10 task and getting to Alcatraz, Mike Tirico, they would be the winner.
Go Team Kobe.
We'll continue to follow their progress, Doc. Had a lot of fun here, meeting everyone earlier today.
I saw them at a local restaurant last night. They were having a very good time, and all the people all around them, like really celebrities. I mean, they were signing autographs and everything.
They were signing autographs here pregame as well. A lot of the students watched Beg, Borrow, and Deal. So after the 3 and out for Clemson, State is back with it, and McClendon gains a couple of yards. I want to remind you that the season of Beg, Borrow, and Deal has 2 episodes left. Next 2 Tuesdays, October 29 and November 5. See if Team Kobe can close the deal at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. ESPN also proudly announcing year 2 of Beg, Borrow, and Deal coming next summer. Log on to ESPN.com, keyword Beg, and fill out the application to see if you have what it takes to make it on Beg, Borrow, and Deal. And there they go. A picture of Doc.
Look at Doc.
There's Doc.
Doc, don't they teach you never give up the microphone, especially to 2 broadcast journalism students.
Yeah.
She went to Southern Cal. The one on the left is a Michigan State alum.
Heck of a Rose Bowl. What was that, 88? Bobby McAllister, Lorenzo White, and the boys?
Here's McClendon, right side. Gets it out to the 43-yard line, and that's enough for the first down. Let's come back to NC State for a second and visit the Wolfpack.
I want to say something before we go too far.
Go say anything you want at this point.
We've seen Maurice. Now, you and I have seen Maurice Claret, true freshman. And I want you to know this. I think that this kid McClendon has a little bit more juice, spark to it. I think they're 2 wonderful freshman running backs. But I'll tell you what, I've been very, very impressed with McClendon tonight as a true freshman.
You know what I've been impressed with? The North Carolina State offensive line to help a young freshman out. And I think McClendon's a great back, and who knows who's the better true freshman back. But I would say it'd be interesting to see number 13 at Ohio State run behind this offensive line with holes as big as we've seen tonight. I'll just leave it at that.
Now McClendon, a career high in an individual game. He's gone over 165. Coming in tonight, the last 4 games, these two players who've gotten to know each other, by the way, have put up similar rushing numbers. The difference is Ferentz has been on national TV against tougher competition than State, with TA with his new career high of $166. Better than the 164 he had against North Carolina, and doing it on national TV certainly will open eyes. And just as we say that, he fumbles, and Clemson recovers.
Well,
you know, some segments just work out perfectly.
That's the way you work it.
And some you just saw.
Now, in his defense, my friend Ferentz fumbled 3 times against Northwestern.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna. You can say whatever you want. I'll just continue to say that the offensive line play, what we've seen tonight. We'll watch Penn State game on Saturday.
Yeah.
We'll take some
I like
notes.
the Buckeyes offensive line. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Very, very good.
Eric Sampson recovered the fumble for Clemson. So a couple of turnovers now on each side. And his Clemson offense moved the ball on its first drive. That second drive, everything was just slightly off the mark from Simmons. Yusuf Kelly got a nice block and runs for the first down out to the 43-yard line. Greg Walker, the guard, pulled on that play, threw a nice block, and picked up 13. Get you to some serious football, pulling guards and all that good stuff.
You know, the thing that, from a coach's standpoint, is going to kill Tommy Bowden is that not making that 4th down and getting it in there.
Oh, man.
And giving up the 3 points.
Yep, opening drive.
I'm telling you, that really is going to hurt him in the 4th quarter.
A first down run for Kelly to the 39. Give Yusuf 5. If you've been watching Clemson over the last couple of years, you might remember Keith Kelly. Keith Kelly is Yusuf Kelly. The problem was, in the phone book here, nobody could find him because he was listed under Yusuf Kelly, which is his real name. Keith was a nickname he had gone by, but when friends tried to get a hold of him, they couldn't find him. Say, Yusuf, that's not Keith Kelly. So he now goes by Yusuf.
Mike, you're amazing. You give them all the best stuff in the world at 25-0.
Digs it up.
Digs it up.
Lee,
Sometimes we don't get that good stuff because our games have been too good.
We got another 4 pages of it here, Lee, and if they don't score, we'll get to it. However, if Clemson can score on this drive, get it to 25, 7 or 8.
Come on, guys.
They'll hang around a little bit. And like you said, they're an offense built for 2-minute drills because it's what they do naturally.
They better crank it up. 4-possession game right now. You got to score. You got to score some.
And remember, they're in 4-down territory anytime they get past their own 10. Past their own 10.
Their own 10.
Yeah, their own 10.
Not inside.
Not inside 10. No. Own 10, go for it.
It's all about points.
You see they've struggled picking up 3rd down. Stopped on 3rd and 4th and less than a yard, running the ball. This time they try to throw to the backup tight end, Bobby Williamson, and the pass is intercepted or incomplete. It is intercepted by Terrence Holt, who has a touchdown earlier tonight on a block punt return. There he gets the INT, his 3rd of the season. Clemson has not gotten out of its own way, and NC State has been there to answer every time.
Tonight on SportsCenter, one and done. Who's closer to a title? Pat Riley's humbling experience, big distractions in Big D, and does Notre Dame get no respect? SportsCenter after the game on ESPN.
Straight back.
Welcome back to Death Valley in Clemson, South Carolina, and some of the fans have seen enough. At 25-0, they have hung in there.
They should be proud. I mean, this game hasn't been the prettiest for Clemson, and it's a school night. People got to work tomorrow, and you know what? They have hung in there and supported their team until that last pick. And then they headed out.
1st and 10 from the 22 for Rivers and the undefeated Wolfpack. No play pass. Lots of time, too. And that is something that you will see from Phillip Rivers. If nothing's open, he will throw the ball away, and that was purely the reason that was incomplete.
Let's take a look at T.A. McClendon, the freshman, 5'11", 214 pounds. And Kurt, I think he has an extra speed. extra gear that I really like for a young guy. This is important. Before this game, he broke 79 tackles for over 300 yards. Today, he has 40 yards after being the first contact. I think he's a tremendous-looking freshman.
There he goes again. McClendon gets 7. He had lost that career high that he had earlier and now has it back for that game. Mark it more close to 6 than 7.
One other thing about him, he's got a great season going, right? He missed the Navy game because of bad shoulder.
Yep.
Can you imagine what he'd have done against the Naval Academy?
Wow.
I mean, he would have had 200 yards at least. Right?
You know what's great about him is for a young guy, good leverage. I mean, he's got good. He gets his pads down low, and it's tough to get a good angle on him to bring him down. Runs with a lot of authority.
He's approaching 800 yards on the season in his 8 games. Didn't start the first 4. Chuck Amato didn't want to throw a true freshman in there to start game 1. 3rd and 5, Rivers runs, puts his head down to try to get the first down.
That's nice.
And I do believe he got it.
We've talked about Philip Rivers and everything he brings to the table. The receivers are talented. T.A. McClendon is a freshman. He does everything you want. The leadership, here it is. Big 3rd down, able to come up, lower the head, and take on Sampson one-on-one. Watch this. Boom. One-on-one. Falls forward, and I think he's got enough for the first down.
Weren't with us in the first half. Philip, 3rd year as the quarterback. Picked up the first down.
It's the little things, you know. He knew exactly where he needed to go to get to that first down. Ooh. Be careful.
Lucky.
Really lucky. Be careful.
That is a dangerous position for his neck to be in. Dangerous.
Final 100 seconds of this 3rd quarter as Steve Rivers, Philip's dad, continues to watch. McClendon tries the right side. Nice defensive play to bring him down by Maurice Fountain. 2nd time we've called the sophomore out of Camden, South Carolina.
I think the mark of a good back is when he's able to make some things happen. And you said coming into this game, he's been able to do that all year, T.A. McClendon. But tonight, the offensive line of North Carolina State has owned Clemson up front. Most times when McClendon has been able to get his hand off, look at the holes that he's running through. I mean, he is a beneficiary tonight of some great blocking, and you mix in his ability to go along with that physical offensive line, and it's no wonder he's had a great night. They are tough up front.
A shovel past McClendon. That one snuffed out. This Clemson defense is still hitting and still bringing intensity, even though they're down 25. Well, a reminder, there's another college football game tonight starting in less than 10 minutes. Out in Fort Collins, BYU taking on Brad Van Pelt and Colorado State. Win there for the Rams. I'll put them in position for next week when you guys see them against Air Force. Colorado State with Bradley Van Pelt trying to stay at the top of the Mountain West. That's on ESPN2 in scant moments. 3rd quarter complete. Just a field goal for NC State. They're dominating, leading Clemson by 25. Off we go to the 4th quarter in Death Valley, 25-0. NC State looking to get to 9-0, which would be its best start in school history. 3rd and 11 for Rivers. That should have been intercepted. It goes incomplete, intended for Sterling Hicks. Right through the hands of Miller. The ever-present true freshman. Thought he had picked 4. There's a marker down on the play. And an NC State player shaken up as well. It was Chris Colmer, the offensive lineman, who's up on his own power. There's Big Chris. Gladiator. Port Jefferson, New York's his home.
Holding on the offense. The penalty is declined. Down.
Port Jeff is about an hour away from New York City, out on Long Island.
Chris Colmer has been graded out the highest of any offensive lineman for 2 straight years. And look at the hairstyle on that guy.
Isn't that nice? That's new this week, by the way.
What is it?
Just for Thursday night. Got the rubber bands going in here.
kicking away from Derek Hamilton. He'll get his hands on it at the 23. He's not been able to get anything going tonight, and there's an umbrella of white surrounding Hamilton. Lucky to get 2 yards back. Fabulous coverage by the Wolfpack. 45-yard punt, no return. That's a great shot, guys.
Wow, oh, beautiful.
Look at that. Plane flying past the moon. Well,
might have been one of our flights.
It's actually a little early, about 6 hours from now, a little 4 a.m. Phillip Rivers in this dream season for NC State. Looks like it might have a little bit of life for another 9 days or so. Certainly making believers out of many here tonight. Willie Simmons throws it to Hamilton. Takes it to the 37, and it'll be a first down for Clemson. An 11-yard pickup. Well, when the first official BCS standings came out this week, people thought they'd see NC State a little bit lower than the other undefeateds, save Bowling Green, and that in fact did happen. North Carolina State 11th in the BCS standings. You only have to get to number 2. You don't have to worry about getting to 1, but there's a lot of people in between and a lot of football left. For means of basic explanation, without getting you lost in the minutiae of the BCS, State's that low because they haven't played anybody. They've only played one team with a winning record. McKelvey the catch. Pickup is about 9.5. Let's take the 8 undefeated teams and show you the strength of the schedule they've played, a significant component in the BCS. And you see State all the way down there at 86 out of 117, and you understand why they were 11th in the first BCS standings. Now, as we said at the very top of the show, we're going to find out about them in the next 5 weeks because they play the 5 teams in the ACC with a winning record. Thus, their remaining opponent schedule is the toughest of the teams remaining in the 7 undefeateds, except for Bowling Green, who's so far down on the list because its strength of schedule is nowhere near these teams at the top.
And not only strength of schedule, but just if they can maintain the winning edge, if they can continue to win football games, it'll put them in a position to move up with the human factor, the AP and the ESPN coaches poll. So that'll help them close the gap too. What would be a shame is if we get to the end of the year, they're able to run through the ACC, and a one-loss team from one of the bigger conferences, Big 12, the SEC, ends up going in ahead of them still with 1 loss. See that? After seeing this team, they've got a good defense. They've got a leader on offense, Phillip Rivers, the offensive line, receivers, and now they got a running back to go along with them. It's a good football team.
Measurement was short of a first down. It's 2.5 yard. We get some other thoughts about the BCS and State. They could not get the half yard again on the quarterback sneak. It just tells you about the physical nature of this NC State team on both sides of the ball, and Clemson's inability to control the line of scrimmage at all. Now it's 3rd and a longer yard.
We could talk about what play, quarterback sneak, run the tailback, run the fullback. You know what, Lee, you know this better than anybody. In short yardage, it's an attitude. It's an attitude up in the trenches, and NC State's been able to have that tonight. Look at that. Wow. You kidding me?
Wow. Bernard Rambert is stopped for a loss of yardage, and in a place where football has a southern passion, they don't stand for things like this.
How many times have I told you guys, if you're going to run short yardage, you use a lead blocker to pick up the linebackers. There's no lead blocker to pick up the scrape linebackers. How many times have I told you guys? I saw that with Woody Hayes 250 years ago. You need a lead blocker to pick up those guys so that he can move forward.
Freddie Autry-Lindsey and Roger Pollard made the play. Clemson will go for it on 4th and 2. 5 in the pattern. Simmons tries to get it himself. Willie picks up the first down and lost the football right into the hands of Greg Golden. It is a hands-on-chin night for the Tiger faithful. A penalty marker is down at the line of scrimmage, so we'll check the flag first.
That was their best short yardage play, getting the shotgun and let the rush come in and let Willie dance around and pick up the first down. He just got to hold on to the ball. That's the one thing that coaches will not accept.
Dead ball unsportsmanlike on NC State, so the Wolfpack will retain possession after the fumble by Simmons. 12:45 left, fourth quarter. We'll talk more about State's title dreams when we come back. Until tonight, this was the team that had the best start in the history of NC State. 8-0, 1967. There's the team captain, Chuck Amato, the head coach. This was the famed white shoes team in NC State history. Those long cleats, but the white shoes team wore those white shoes. They had a lot of success. Their first loss came at Penn State, and then the next week they came here to Clemson, and little Coach Howard had all the paint in Clemson, South Carolina. That was the color orange, to paint Clemson shoes in response to the white shoes, and they handed NC State a second loss. State finished that season with just 2 defeats. But that team will be taken out of the record book tonight for the best start in school history by Chuck Amato's 9-0 2002 Wolfpack team. And getting back to the discussion we were having about the BCS earlier, we should point out why their schedule was so weak to start the season. They had a 12-game schedule, as everyone knows, this year. Already, when Lee Fowler, the athletic director, inherited this schedule, he had 5 home, 5 road, so he needed to add another home game, as all the big schools need to do from a monetary standpoint, and did, adding a non-conference game against East Tennessee State, a 1AA opponent. 2nd and 8, and McClendon gains a couple of more yards. As they were searching for that 12th game, which everyone is playing this year, they couldn't find anybody who wanted to play a home-and-home, a Division 1A opponent, by coming to Raleigh first. They needed the game in Raleigh this year, so they had to add UMass, who made the 1AA playoffs a couple of years ago. But that's how they ended up with 2 1AAs, so the schedule strength comes way down because of that, and could factor in later in the season.
To follow up on Kirk's point about if they ran the table and someone else with 1 defeat went ahead of them, that could possibly happen, especially if it's a Big 12 team or an SEC team that has a championship game.
Like your Texas team is LSU.
Or LSU.
Right. Perfect throw between the levels of the defense on 3rd and 4 to Cotchery, first down, into Clemson territory at the 48, a pickup of 16.
Lee, you'll get them there. He's still working to get them there.
Well, or your Oklahoma team that could lose a game.
All of a sudden, that last week you're on Oklahoma, now you're...
Well, it depends. One thing I'd like to say right now, if I were Chuck Amato, I'd take out number 44, T.A. McClendon. I don't know if he's in there. Enough's enough, Chuck. You need this guy to beat other football. See that guy right there? Coach, sit him on the bench, take his helmet off, put a baseball hat on him, and let somebody else run like Josh Brown.
Here's big old Josh.
Yeah, run, Josh.
Out of Shelby, North Carolina. Left side. Delivers the blow. Game 6. Doc Punch, go ahead.
Guys, shortly after Chuck Amato took the head coaching job at North Carolina State, they asked the All-American linebacker LeVar Fisher in a press conference what Chuck told the players. He said he told us that he's going to come in here and give us a chance to someday play for a national championship. But when he said that, when Fisher said that, the press began to laugh and slap their knees. You know, I don't think it's that funny anymore. These guys, I think, have bought into Amato's system and believe they might have a shot, maybe not for the Fiesta Bowl, but a shot at a big New Year's Day Bowl with this football team.
Certainly control their destiny to get in the BCS. Win out, they win the ACC, because they have Florida State still ahead on the schedule, and Florida State comes to Raleigh on November 23rd. I'll show you what they have ahead at 9-0 after tonight. A reeling Georgia Tech team we saw last week, then 2 toughies.
Wait, you got Maryland? I want to put this one there too.
All those.
Mark them all.
And you know what? And Georgia Tech plays well against North Carolina State. You know, I know that they've got some injuries, and we saw them a week ago, but at Maryland and at Virginia and Florida State, that will not be easy for NC State this year.
Those are 3 great games that we'll see in the ACC. Very good games, not great games. Very good games that we'll see in November in the ACC. Blitz coming from Clemson. Little swing out is caught by Brown. Did a nice job dancing on the sideline to get the first down at the 35-yard line. We go back to the scheduling, the 1AAs. It's not Lee Fowler, the AD's fault. It was the schedule he inherited. It's the inherent problem with college football scheduling. And I think because you can't have a level playing field as to who you play, and it's not like the NCAA basketball situation where we get 64 in the tournament. It can be decided there. Scheduling is such a significant part of who plays for the championship. We've got to get to the point in college football where 1A teams stop playing 1AA teams. It should not count. when you play a Division II or Division III team in college hoops, it doesn't count at all. Here it hurts NC State.
Yeah, I agree.
Rivers throwing, perfectly laid out there. To the 6-yard line for T.J. Williams, the third-string tight end, a freshman out of North Carolina, third catch and longest of his college career.
Now, we haven't seen it tonight a lot from Phillip Rivers, but I think he throws one of the more catchable balls in the country. It's a there. He just laid it right over top of the linebacker's head. Nice throw. You haven't seen it a lot, but if you've watched him throughout his career, it's almost just like some of those guys have that ability. It's again, it's unorthodox, but I'm talking about the ball in the air. When it gets to the receiver, it's a catchable ball. Not only location, but how it comes into the receiver.
Well, Lee made the Werfel comparison. Wasn't that true with Danny?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like that. Remember what he's talking about is a tight spiral spinning. His ball seems like have a nice slow revolution.
You know, it floats in. Yeah. It floats in, but it's on time because he makes good decisions. He knows where to go with the ball. And that's the thing he said. He said the difference this year in me as a quarterback is I'm making quicker decisions. I'm seeing the field. I'm getting back, and right away, as soon as I see my first read, I know where to go with the ball, even if the primary receiver's not there.
Being around the game with Dad as a coach early on, it's so funny to see the, quote, poor fundamentals or unorthodox motion from the son of a coach. McClendon spinning, and as he gets down to the 3-yard line, yet it's still effective every time it comes out, even though it comes out for a position that we don't normally see.
Well, he is. Most quarterbacks are taught year after year, even when you're younger, to get the ball up. Phillip Rivers comes down here, and what Lee touched on in the first quarter is a lot of times he'll come here to throw, but we've seen him make an adjustment right in the middle of making a throw, and he'll all of a sudden go here just to avoid a defender. And that's just something that goes back to having that innate ability. And I think it goes back to being raised by a coach.
I want to say one thing. Ron Jaworski could not do it as well as you. The Jaws is not as good as
Jaws will kill him.
When we get to the NFL draft,
the NFL,
arm angle, ball position, that's just not good fundamental play from the quarterback position.
Jaws is licking his chops.
He's only won 10 in a row, and he's a national champion.
Friday nights, baby, the edge. I love it.
ESPN College Football Thursday night, presented by Circuit City. We know how you feel. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. And in part by Audi. In technology, performance, and design, our goal remains constant. Never follow.
Play 10 of the drive is coming up. SportsCenter's also coming up after 8:14 spins off our fourth quarter clock here at Clemson, South Carolina. Just a couple hours between Atlanta and Charlotte. This is 3rd and goal, and McClendon runs in for his second touchdown of the night, 14th of the season, a 180-yard night from TA.
Those of you scouting North Carolina State, where they have Georgia Tech, Maryland, Virginia, Florida State, you might want to get ready to take on a physical offensive line, and especially on the left side. Shane Riggs, former defensive lineman at left guard, and Chris Colmer, at left tackle, number 70, have been blowing people up for 4 quarters. When in doubt, run behind the left side of that NC State offensive line.
I want to give you one stat and put it in perspective. Clemson gave up 523 yards to Wake Forest last week. They're not very good defensively.
These guys are good. Question of the night: fraud or for real? Answer: 32-0. So tons of college football talk coming up after the game. The Wolf is taking the Tiger out tonight. 32-0. That's a noise you hear from the NC State fans that made their way across the North Carolina border on into South Carolina tonight. Who said Florida State before?
I did, yes.
Yeah, just that feel of the attitude, the ability to spread you out, the nastiness on defense, the Florida State teams of old, not too old either. A complete disaster here. Picked up by Justin Miller. Well, they deserve one good thing to happen tonight. 80 yards. Touchdown. Just as we were going to tell you that State's last road shutout came in a place that doesn't exist anymore, this happens.
How many times do you see a fumble either on a punt return or a kickoff return? Everybody gets out of their lanes, gets excited about the ball on the ground, and the next thing you know, you have an athlete like Miller who can break one tackle and he's gone. That's exactly what happened right there.
And remember, Justin Miller is a part of that, probably one of the youngest football teams in the country that Tommy Bowden has. And that guy can come back here and really be a very fine football player as a big-time player. Justin Miller from Owensboro, Kentucky.
A timeout taken by North Carolina State as Clemson comes out to go for two. You mentioned young and recruiting. It's kind of a program in transition in some ways with Clemson as Tommy Bowden starts to get his own players on this team. When you think about what he inherited, he only had 3 players drafted in the last 3 years. That tells you that the talent pool was not as high as the Clemson faithful were used to. That plus the transition to the spread offense has really forced some transition pains that we've seen a couple of times from Clemson in the last few years.
Speaking about the spread offense, there's a guy named Roscoe Crosby who is not playing this year, because he had an injury, and he was going to play baseball for the Kansas City Royals and come back. He set the Clemson records for receiving this first-year freshman. You put Hamilton and Crosby on both sides of the field, and I'm telling you, you got yourself a nice-looking offensive football team coming back.
But now reality sets in after this game. He's now 2-3 in the conference and 4-4 overall. The challenge for Tommy Bowden as a young head coach is keep this team focused, because we saw him about, what, 2 weeks ago against Florida State?
Yep, October 3rd.
And they looked like a completely different team as far as their attitude. Right now, he's got to try to keep this team motivated to try to finish up this season. That'll be a challenge for him.
Whitehurst is in there at quarterback for the 2-point conversion. Sending 5 in the pattern, trying to make something happen. Hamilton unable to hold on. Well covered by Andre Maddox. State's last road shutout was at Syracuse 25 years ago in Archbold Stadium. That doesn't exist anymore. Won't get one here tonight. Tiger Band doing a little entertaining in the concourse here at Memorial Stadium, Clemson, South Carolina. Lee, did you coach here?
Yes, I did. 1959 through 1965 against a guy named Frank Howard.
When you were at Maryland?
When I was at Maryland, Tom Nugent and Frank Howard went. There's a great story on that. One time we played Frank Howard, Tom Nugent called a 4th down, little fake, threw a touchdown pass and won. Frank Howard come out and said, you know what? He said, I hate losing to a high school coach using high school plays. And Nugent said, young man, when I coach against high school coaches, I use high school plays.
No.
Yeah, he said that to Frank Howard. He had a tremendous feud here.
Frank Howard, one of the legends in coaching. Win Comp onside kick is recovered for a Jericho Cotchery touchdown.
Number 82, Jericho Cotchery returns it for a touchdown.
How many special teams touchdowns is that now? 8?
There'll be 2 tonight.
That's
8 on the year?
8 on the season.
Did we talk about Florida State? Did we say something about this team looking like Florida State?
Yep.
I know they caught a break here and picking it right up and going, but they just... Chuck's goal with being around Tallahassee for so long was to bring that kind of attitude to Raleigh, and it starts with recruiting and an attitude, and then the results start to come after that.
Well, it also starts with the fact he's got 22 players from the state of Florida on his football team.
Yep.
Hello.
And Missed extra point there by Kiker. Man, that's out of bounds. Stroking distance, re-tee it. Here's Chris Fowler in the studio with an update. What do you have there, buddy?
Well, next week it's Air Force hosting Colorado State. The Rams tonight are all over BYU early. Cecil Sapp gets in the house. Cougars look like they're ready for the bus. They've just turned it over. Look out, yo.
Give me a little Corso there.
Oh, man.
10-0. Chris will be in the booth with you guys.
Well, not before he finishes up. He's got updates tonight on the Colorado State BYU game tonight.
And I like the way he's giving us some good, serious football tonight, don't you?
It's important.
It's important.
You know what's good is I'll get back to the hotel, get a chance to get everything packed up, and watch CF breaking it down, giving some updates and whatnot.
Well, next week, guys, you'll have Air Force Colorado State. If the Rams can hold on to the early advantage over the Cougars, you'll see a very good possibility of the game that may go a long way in deciding the Mountain West title. Keep that up there, guys, a second. You want to hit San Diego State for me there, buddy?
Yeah, look at this.
2-0 in the league, 2-5 overall. Wow, that's you never see that. But that's the way it stands right now. Only 2 teams in the Mountain West are over 500. That Kotchery onside kick take for the touchdown was very similar to a couple of years ago in the NFC title game when Jason Sehorn of the Giants did that against the Vikings, and that was the rare time that you see back-to-back kickoff returns for a touchdown. That's why you hang in there halfway through the fourth quarter. This one will not be returned for a touchdown, as it is a touchback. Kirk, you mentioned NC State scoring in all ways this year, a team that has averaged 41 points a game, buoyed by 9 non-offensive touchdowns, leading the country, and a few more here tonight. The block punt, the kickoff return by Kotchery.
They might not get it tonight, but they've been going over 50 3 of the 8 games this year.
That's right.
That's a pretty good offensive football team.
Whitehurst in a quarterback. Charlie, the redshirt freshman out of Georgia, throws to Hamilton, taken out at the 25. Spun around by Andre Maddox.
When you look at Chuck Amato there, he's now 24-9 in his 3 years at North Carolina State. And as I said before, that's 73% of the games. As I said before, he loves to recruit South Florida. That's where he recruited for Florida State. But he also hired Doc Holliday, who is a West Virginia coach that used to recruit Florida against Amato. He thought he was the best recruiter, so he hired him.
Nice throw by Whitehurst to McKelvey. JJ on the run to the 40. 35 yards.
In the last couple years, they've been able to go up against some heavyweights down in the state of Florida and land them and bring them in. And
there's Doc.
Doc Holliday, you mentioned his ties to West Virginia, one of the great recruiters out there in the country, and is known for his ability to go down into the Sunshine State and bringing talented players. And, you know, you talk about talent every week, and we talk about the state of Florida, the state of Texas, California. You got to find speed, and North Carolina State has done that in a hurry.
McKelvey, gain of 9.5, 2nd and 1 coming. Here's Jerry Punch.
Talking about recruiting South Florida, Chuck Amato said that the only guy that could ever go down there and beat him head-to-head on a recruit was Doc Holliday of West Virginia. He said, you know, if I ever become a head coach, the first guy I'm going to hire is that guy, because I don't want to recruit against him, and that's the first guy he went after, Doc Holliday. And both of them, as you said, Lee Corso, have been smothering recruits in South Florida with 22 on this team.
Whitehurst throw to Hamilton is incomplete. Eric was out of bounds when he pulled it down. May have turned an ankle in the process.
We're talking a lot about the aggressive attitude of his football team. It comes from Chuck Amato's, his own ability to be aggressive. He was a 3-year letterman in wrestling while he was at North Carolina State. In fact, he won 2 ACC titles at 2 different weight classes. And I tell you what, the chest could still.
The chest is.
He's ready.
The chest is still there, but he's lost a little of the waist. He is thinned down.
3rd and 1 throw is incomplete. Fans want a flag. It is not forthcoming. No flag down.
And one of the things that goes along with Chuck Amato, when you're trying to build a team early in your coaching tenure, you need leadership. And the one thing that they have now with Phillip Rivers on offense and Terrence Holt on defense and Antonio Burnett, they have guys that care about the team. And it's so important today when you're trying to make a run at a championship is guys who are unselfish and don't care about who gets the credit. And that right, you're seeing that with this North Carolina State team. This is a team first and the individual second.
Harry's Curry picked up the first down on 4th down. And Chuck has run across a few guys who he did not necessarily feel were guys who fit the team. And he said, hey, you can go. We don't need you. We'll win or lose with or without you. Right. And he's used them as examples. Whitehurst in all kinds of trouble. Was it intercepted? No, out of bounds and incomplete.
But what's interesting about those stories, in every case after they got that talk from Chuck Amato, they either made a change and they left, or they decided to stay and do things right. In every case, they stayed and not only became better football players, but they became better people. So, and I think that's what it's all about. We're seeing that throughout the country. We talk about Notre Dame every week with Tyrone Willingham. That's something that he's been able to do this year.
When we talked last night, we were mentioning that issue, and football is about people, and people make a football team, not just good players. Good people make a good football team. Aries Curry couldn't pull it down. 5'11", couldn't get up to bring down the Whitehurst Toss. 6:12 to go. You know, all the talk of Chuck Amato, it's not like he took over a program that was down in the dumps. And the guy who he replaced is Mike O'Kane, who was the head coach at North Carolina State before Amato came from Florida State. Mike O'Kane is now here at Clemson. There he is. He's now the quarterbacks coach for the last couple of years after a year at North Carolina. Mike was the NC State head coach, as you saw, 93 through 99, 41 and 40 in those 7 years. The Whitehurst toss is incomplete. You know, Mike O'Kane didn't have the financial support that Chuck Amato is getting now. He really did a lot to get NC State's program continued on the track that Dick Sheridan had them on. Successful 7-win seasons, 8-win seasons. But you're not going to find a nicer guy or a better guy. And there are still holdovers, guys who are on the field like Terrence Holt and Antonio Burnett from the O'Kane era at NC State. And those guys said, you know, one of the things they look forward to is getting a chance to see Mike, hopefully after the game, just to say hi. Here is Holt, who says hi, forces the fumble. It's recovered by Pat Thomas of NC State. Well, Terrence Holt has played in this program for 5 years after his brother Torrey Holt was there. Mike O'Kane recruited Terrence Holt to North Carolina State, and Holt has made a great impact as he closes out his senior year.
And one thing about, Kirk was talking about Florida State. An interesting thing about Florida State, two of Bobby Bowden's assistants have left recently, Mark Richt and Chuck Amato. And I don't want to say this, but they're both together 16 wins and no losses. Yo, that's worth a yo of the night.
Yep. You can see the pain on Mike O'Kane's face. Not just that it's his old school, but you know, all your work on a short week, some late nights. 38-6 doesn't make you feel any better. Jerry Punch on the sideline.
You know, you talked about Mike O'Kane and the effort that he has given at North Carolina State and now at Clemson. You know, before the game, Dick Portee, some of the coaches that were his assistants here that are still on the NC State staff came up and gave Mike a big hug. And maybe the biggest thing Mike did for NC State was he went out and he's the guy that recruited Phillip Rivers. In fact, he told me before the game nobody was recruiting Phillip. No one in Alabama wanted him. He said Mississippi State was going to look at Phillip maybe as a linebacker or defensive back, but no one wanted him as a quarterback. And we went down and got a verbal commitment. And when Mike left the job, that's the first place Chuck Amato went. He went to Athens, Alabama to talk to Steve and Joan Rivers and Phillip Rivers in the living room to say, hey, we still want you to come be a part of this program. You could help us build this program where we want to go. And indeed, that's a special skill. But, you know, before the game, guys coming up and giving Mike O'Kane a big hug. Rarely does a coach leave a program and still be thought of so highly. Not the case with Mike O'Kane. He is very, very well thought of by the folks in Raleigh, North Carolina at NC State.
That's a great point, Jerry. And you know it. You know the state program as well as, or certainly better than any of us, as well as anyone who covers college football. But you saw in that coach's box at Brad Scott and Mike O'Kane.
I've been there.
It's what is so attractive about sports. The highs are so high, the lows are so devastating. And it all starts again tomorrow morning. do anything he can to find a way to beat Georgia Tech and get back to, or rather to beat Duke and get to 5-4 with 2 road games coming up for Clemson. Out at midfield, they're a half-yard short of the first down. For those of you who were not with us earlier tonight, let's check out what's happened in the North Carolina State-Clemson game. Some very impressive defense holding Clemson to 231 yards, turning them over a couple of times, and 2 big plays forcing some turnovers that got Clemson out of bad spots, and a career high for T.A. McClendon, 179 yards on 28 carries and 2 touchdowns for the true freshman, who now ticks off 14 on the season. North Carolina State will be off to its best start in school history at 9-0. 3:44 to go before SportsCenter on ESPN. 38-6. Clemson trails NC State. Kirk, your first time here at Clemson?
Yep.
Pretty neat place, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great to see the open right at the beginning of the game where Clemson came down the hill, touched the rock. That was pretty special. It's one of the great traditions in college football, and from there, once they came down, after North Carolina State came up with some plays early,
it's been all downhill from there.
Well, that's what it is. You come downhill.
I was trying for the punt, Coach.
Okay, well,
thanks for the help.
I remember. I saw it.
Here's Hamilton. He's taken down at the 28-yard line. Do you know the story of Howard's Rock?
No, tell us, please.
Would you like me to?
I see it on your notes, so tell us.
Frank Howard, the coach here for a long time, an alum. When this place got the name Death Valley, which actually came from when Presbyterian came in here and had such a tough time playing, as the fans still go by to rub the rock on their way out. The Presbyterian coach gave it the nickname Death Valley. So an alum brought a rock from the Death Valley out in California to Coach Howard. Well, Coach Howard, thank you very much. The rock sat in his office. Whitehurst on the run. Got rid of it. Incomplete. Intended for Hamilton. So in 64, the alum brought the rock, sat around, and threw it out.
Yeah.
Frank Howard said, it's sat here for a year. I don't need it. Get rid of it, right? Sure. Well, what happens, they said, let's hang on to it. One of the administrative guys hung on to it. The very next year, they're down 18 with 17 minutes left to Virginia. Come back and win the game.
Oh, kid.
The rock never leaves. It's the 291st game that the rock has sat there in the east end zone.
So it almost got thrown out.
It almost got thrown out. Just sitting around like a doorstop. And now it's become the centerpiece for one of the, as we said earlier, most exhilarating entries to a field by a team in all of sports. Frank Howard, as the legend of the rock built, now this was the guy who wanted to throw it out, but now they won a game, something special happened, keep it around. He had one of the great quotes of all time. If you're going to give me 110%, then you can rub that rock. But if you're not going to, keep your filthy hands off my rock.
Now, how did he say it, though?
I can't. I don't do it. I don't know. Fowler's the guy who does the best imitations. I'm not going to go there. Chris is, he's the best.
Let's send it back to Chris and see if he can do that for us.
Pass is incomplete, and it'll be 4th down coming up. It is still one of the neat traditions in sport, and there's really an SEC feel to Clemson football in the ACC. And they were so dominant in this conference for so long, but now, since Florida State's come in, they have not won the league title. They will not win the league title again. And there's some heat on Tommy Bowden, which we all found very surprising when we sat to visit with him before the Florida State game.
Tommy Bowden's the same guy that took Tulane to an undefeated season, 11. He came here and won a lot of his ball games. He's having a tough year. They just don't have a lot of senior leadership. They got a lot of good young football players in this football team here.
This is an athletic team. It's just that right now what's being challenged is the psychological factors of a football team and how you come into a game and then how you try to bounce back after some difficulties. And I think what happened to them against Florida State might have taken a lot out of them about 3 weeks ago.
You see, they'll go to 4-4 and need to win 2 of their last 4 ball games to become bowl eligible. Last year they went to the Humanitarian Bowl out in Boise, and that's one of the concerns as well. You go to a bowl game that they were able to essentially buy their way into, get their way in. You need to be at a bowl game where your fans can enjoy the bowl experience as well.
Well, another thing he's got going for him against what makes this an awful tough job, he's got a guy in the state named Lou Holtz in South Carolina that can flat out coach. So anytime Tommy goes against a guy that way, that's a really good football program he's going against. My recommendation to Tommy was if he could get to a bowl this year where they could drive to, it'd be a lot better for him.
Well, that's going to be a challenge after tonight.
But he'll get it back. He's got a good staff with him. John Lovett's a good defensive coordinator. He's had Brad Scott with him. Brad Scott's a winner in Florida State. He's got some good young players, and they'll rally the troops. They got Duke next week.
Yes.
Okay, they'll get Duke.
Jay Davis is in at quarterback. Duke has improved. Coach Frank's doing a good job there. They've got a new facility being built. Duke only has one senior. As a matter of fact, when you go around the ACC, the first thing people tell you is Duke is better. Wake Forest is a lot better. And we've watched Wake Forest a couple of times now preparing for teams we've seen on Thursdays. And Jim Grob's doing a fabulous job there.
One thing about the ACC, everybody's making new physical facilities and doing them better, aren't they?
Yeah.
Clemson's got to do that. Clemson's got to stay up with the ACC and get some new facilities here for the football team. Not the stadium, but other
facilities need to be upgraded. You're seeing that all over this conference, and I think you're seeing improvement throughout this conference.
A nice run for Josh Brown as he takes it out to midfield.
This conference has come a long way since you had Florida State and then everybody else.
Yes. Well, if you can't beat them, join them. Everybody's decided to try to join them, and it's brought Florida State back to the pack a little bit. And there you see the remaining schedule Clemson will have to handle as they go to 4-4 with the setback tonight. 2 on the road, then 2 very tough home games.
And as I said, I don't think it's about talent. The team is talented. It's about an attitude. And, you know, to drop to 4-4, 500 overall and 2-3 in the conference, that's going to be the biggest challenge for Tommy Bowden and his staff. Getting this team, with all the negativity around the program, getting them focused and getting them excited about these last 4 games.
False start flag here will give us a chance to tell you about the outstanding performer here tonight. The Audi player of the game, T.A. McClendon, the true freshman, 28 and a career high 179. And Chuck Amato called him out, said national TV. TA on TV means 2 more touchdowns and 14 on the season. It's going to be a fun team to watch here over the next couple of weeks. The best start in school history. There's Manny Diaz there in the background in the black vest and the red shirt on the sideline. We talk about coaches and where they come from and guys surrounded with. Manny was a grad assistant down at Florida State and is now part of Chuck Amato's staff coaching the linebackers. Came here as a grad assistant. And he has succeeded very well. And Manny's a guy that all of us at ESPN root for. He was a production assistant on our NFL coverage for a few years and wanted to give it the lifelong dream of getting into coaching. And Manny has done a very good job. To go from a guy who didn't play anywhere to become an assistant coach at an ACC school, and the players love him.
Look at Phillip Rivers coming up to Manny Diaz, giving him some at the end of the game.
You know the kind of story of a guy like that? Guy across the state, Lou Holtz. Never played, down of football, loved the game so much as a coach, as a student, become one of the greatest coaches in college football history, never played.
Manny and his wife Stephanie, their son Colin, all doing great. Manny's dad is the mayor of Miami. And Chuck Amato's the king of Raleigh right now. For the first time ever in 111 years of football, North Carolina State is 9-0. And the dream of a perfect season is alive in Raleigh. Next stop, Georgia Tech at home, and then Maryland, Virginia, and Florida State. The schedule wasn't the toughest coming in, but they show that they are really tough. 32-point win here tonight. Guys, have a good time next week with Chris.
Okay.
See you all in a couple of weeks in the Ville. Sports Center's coming up next on ESPN. Post-game wrap-up on ESPN News in less than a minute. With Lee and Kirk and Doc, Mike Tirico. Thanks for watching this presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Good night from Death Valley, and off we go to Sports Center.
Watching on ESPN, Phillip Rivers came in as the nation's top-rated passer. Yeah, I mean it. First quarter, Clemson to punt. Take a look at Terrence Holt's wrist. For you, Mom. Boy, I love you, Terrence. Yusef Kelly He's thinking of mom at all times. He's arrowed, Yusuf Kelly is. Here's why we arrow him, because he's going to miss. Manny Lawson, block punt. Holt takes advantage. Holt, house hunting. It's for mom, 39 yards. Terrence Holt, by the way, just in case you wondered, younger bro of Rams wideout Torrey Holt. Pack would convert a two-point conversion, 8-0 already. Second quarter, 4th and 1, T.A. McClendon. You heard of this man. You'll be hearing from him a lot.
Freshman.
31 yards. He has a big future.
He ran over my Tar Heels.
There you have it. But then again,
Hey,
I'm sorry.
Easy.
You teed me up, baby.
I did. I let you have
Holt
that.
on the blitz. Willie Simmons, fumbles. Holt recovers. NC State back on 0, and that means Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers, a junior, he's thrown 7 TD passes in his collegiate career against Clemson and just 1 pick. Look at him sneak in for that one, 22-0. At the half, isn't that Team Kobe from ESPN's Beg, Borrow, and Deal?
Tuesday nights on ESPN.
I thought you might know. 4th and 1, Simmons gets stuffed. Wolfpack ball. Clemson turnover sets up this. T.A. McClendon.
All right, T.A., you made your point.
In a national spotlight, that's the point the Wolfpack and T.A. wanted to make. They're for real. There's a reason why they're one of 8 unbeaten teams in major college football. 3rd and 2, Clemson trying to make something happen. Desperate throw by Simmons. Guess who's there? Mr. Holt. Tommy Bowden, not thrilled. NC State, very thrilled. Congratulations to Chuck Amato, 38-6. He's been pumping up his team, and why not? NC State, 9-0 for the first time ever. 7 of their 9 wins have come by double digits. Rivers, 15-24 for 129 yards and 1 pick. Not a single TD pass. McClendon, those 2 TDs. And NC State has something to cheer about. Now the schedule really gets interesting for the Pack as they try to keep these national title hopes alive. You heard me. National title hopes for the Wolfpack.
Hey, Carolina led at halftime in the game against
Enough
NC
already
State.
with the heels. All 4 remaining opponents for the Wolfpack currently have winning records. 2 tough road games await them in Maryland and Virginia before the season finale at home against the Seminoles. And just a reminder, more from this game later in SportsCenter. Stuart? You watch this demolition here on ESPN. NC State is for real with a 38-6 clobbering of Clemson in Death Valley. And 9-0, by the way, for the first time ever. Let's hand it off to Dr. Jerry Punch, who is with Joe Pesci lookalike, happy coach Chuck Amato.
Well, Chuck Amato, the question tonight was fraud or for real. I think you guys answered the question pretty decisively.
Well, we did for tonight, didn't we? I mean, those papers, I hope they say we're for real for at least 9 games, you know. But we've got a, you know, I said we wouldn't be really good until we start playing defense, and we really played a great defensive game, and the kicking game was superb. The block punt, a 2-point play that we got and put us ahead of schedule, and I mean, it was just a team effort. Everybody, the whole daggone team really did a great job.
The physical nature of this football team, the cohesiveness, people said it reminds them of the early years of Florida State where the team really started to come together.
Well, I wouldn't get there yet, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm proud of the coaches who prepare them. They did a great job, but the team they've got, the chemistry is unbelievable. They're tight, man. They're really tight.
How about your boy T.A. on TV? He did a pretty good job tonight.
I don't know how many yards he had, but I'll tell you what. He's a daggone good freshman running back down here in the South, too.
And your unquestioned leader here to your left, Philip Rivers. Philip, I saw a quote in the paper. He said, "We will find out if we belong when we play Clemson." What did you find out tonight?
I think we found out we do belong. And like Coach said, great defense. We needed to start playing it, and our guys did it. And I tell you what, the big guys up front and T.A., they ran the ball great. And when you can run the ball for as many yards, however many we had, you're going to win most of the time.
These next guys are going to be waiting on you. Can you keep it going?
I think so. We've done a good job this year of taking one at a time, and we have a real a close team, and I think we'll continue to do that because we really are set to reach our goals.
Hey guys, congratulations. For the first time, the Wolfpack is 9-0. Congratulations.
College Game Day Report.